What's up, guys? It's time. So this is, as the stream title says, the Majora's Mask any percent NMG no ISG TAS that I've been working on for how long? A couple of months, I think, off and on. And with me to commentate this for this reveal is Yumius. Hi, Yumius.
Hello.
By the way, someone let us know if Yumius is a good volume, too loud or too quiet, or if he needs to speak with a silly accent. That would work too. Turn him up. All right, sounds good. That should be better. So before we get started watching, needs an accent? All right, you'll have to think on that one, Yumius.
Ooh, I'm not so good at that.
Should have prepared for this. So before we start watching the TAS, I want to talk about a few things. Number one, the structure of this reveal is going to be, I think, a little unusual. So we're starting off, obviously, with this intro, but then we're going to watch the entire thing like normal. But after we watch the TAS, we're going to go through the TAS room by room. Maybe not every single room, we'll skip the cutscenes, and talk about all the little details. Because there's a lot of really cool stuff that goes into TASing, and a lot of things that we won't have a chance to talk about at full speed. So hopefully that'll be interesting for you guys. I think that'll be interesting for me anyway. Definitely interesting for Yumius. I've asked him to give me some feedback on it as well, because he's a very experienced TASer. You've been TASing for, what, over a decade, right?
Yeah.
And this is my first TAS, so there will be lots of things that are improvable, but my goal for this TAS really was just to learn how to do it, and ideally to come up with something fun in the end, and I think it's good for what it is. But, you guys will be the judge of that.
My notes get notably less dense the further we go.
Yeah, you'll definitely notice that I get better as the TAS wears on. The first 15 minutes or so are, I'm definitely learning. Anyway, that's going to be the structure. I want to very briefly describe what a TAS is and what this category is, and we will get started in probably a couple minutes. A TAS is a tool-assisted speedrun, and that means that this isn't a speedrun that I just sat down and did with my controller. I used various tools, including save states, frame advance, data viewer, and a very precise input tool so I can make very precise inputs on exactly the frames I want, and I can redo them over and over again until I get them as fast as I possibly can. And the goal is just to show the extent of how far a category can go, I suppose. And there have been a lot of really cool TASes in the past few years. But a lot of them have been challenge runs rather than traditional speed runs, and I personally am always just more interested in speed runs, so I wanted to do a speedrun category. One of my favorites actually in the past few years is the glitchless TAS that Yumius made. Just like seeing the speedrun ones. So this will be one of those. Then as for the category, if you've ever watched an speedrun before, you're probably familiar with any percent NMG. It's beat the game without using the most powerful glitches in the game. Arbitrary code execution, what am I saying? Stale reference manipulation and the debug menu. But no ISG adds one more restriction. Not allowed to use the infinite sword glitch, that's ISG. And that's, infinite sword glitch is the most common, well, probably the most commonly used glitch in the game. It's at least one of them. It enables hovering, among other things. So not being able to use it changes the route a fair amount and changes a lot of individual strats. So if you haven't seen a run of this before, you'll probably see at least one thing that you've never seen before, which should be pretty cool. Let me consult my notes to see if there's anything else that I wanted to talk about before we start. No, there's not. So let me take a moment to switch this view. All right. Oh no, is the chat not working? Huh. Oh yeah, of course the chat's not working. All right, the chat should start working soon. That's okay. And let me close this. Oops, that's not what I wanted. And get this for you, Yumiya, so you should be able to see... Well, it's a black screen now, but you should be able to see the TAS now.
Projector.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, sorry. There's one other really important thing that I need to say. And that is that this category starts from a race file. It does not start from a new file. So this is going to start from a file that's already beaten first cycle. I already have the Deku Mask and the Song of Healing. And there are a couple other smaller things that a race file has. The east, west, and north Clocktown cutscenes are cleared. There are 101 rupees in the bank, and the heart piece on the clock tower has already been gotten. So all normal things that you could do in first cycle. So you won't have to sit here and watch first cycle in a TAS. It would be kind of boring. Let me turn Yumiya's up just a tiny bit more.
It would be kind of funny to hear about how awful it was to get like 50 or 60 rupees at the start, but oh well.
Yeah. Well, there's some of that to talk about later on. All right. And I think with that, we're ready. So, here goes. Oh, right. I need to get ready with the timer. Oh, one other thing. I did this on WeVC. This is I made this TAS on Dolphin, so, and I'll talk about that more when we're going through it room by room.
And that alone is very different to me. I feel like watching it, it makes probably less of a difference on lag than I would have expected, but I imagine loads are quite a bit better.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Lag was definitely present. There were some really, really laggy sections. So, the run starts off, like I said, in Clocktown already have the Deku Mask and Song of Healing. And what most speedruns do at this point is get explosives if they don't already have them, and then hit the Hidden Owl by going around the load zone to South Clocktown from West Clocktown, so that you can activate a glitch called Index Warp to warp basically to areas that you haven't been to yet. In this category, though, I'm not going to do that because I can't. The only ways to do that right now, with what I'm equipped with, involve ISG, namely hovering. So I can't do that right now. I'm going to have to come back and do that at some other point. It will still be fast to do that later on. Instead, I will head to the swamp. But the thing is, I'm heading to the swamp in an unusual way, because I'm going to need to come back here later on foot to get that Hidden Owl statue. So what I want to do is not activate this cutscene with Skull Kid until I can escape it. So I'm currently in the cutscene trigger, but hit the load zone right out of that day transition. And now the cutscene is cleared, so I can come back through that area without activating the cutscene.
As mentioned, what doesn't have Song of Soaring or an owl statue hit, so I can't just soar back and clear it and skip the cutscene using a standard method. Also, like to note that Super Slide he used is the only form of like high-speed movement that can be continued through a cutscene without stopping.
Right. Yeah. So this is interesting. I don't think this has ever been done before. I want to get past the big Octo, and there are a few different ways that you can do that, but I think this is the fastest. I checked it against some other ways. You can get into first person and move around in it by being on a lily pad that's sinking as Deku. And then if you're in first person, you can just side hop right past the Octo. I'm not really sure why that works, if it's not loaded or something, but I could have side hopped past this one too, but I didn't. I needed to take damage. And I think it was faster anyway, if I remember correctly.
I believe so. And that was done before, but a long time ago in the low percent TAS.
Ah, okay. I hadn't seen it. I have to go watch that.
Yeah.
So here, I want to go get Sonata, but first I will need some rupees. I would have done this differently. We'll talk about that in the second half. And I can't hover to get there, but it's also kind of slow to use Deku Flowers. So I'm going to do a recoil over here and use Deku Flowers just as little as possible. with a pop-up here. Yeah, that twisted backflip. There were 3 TASs that I had open the entire time I was doing this as a reference. There was Yumius's glitchless TAS, the Mr. Grunz's 2011 any percent TAS, which is still amazing, and Fox's uncompleted, I think 2018-ish any percent TAS, like pre-SRM. And they were extremely good references, but that twisted backflip to get up there came straight from Mr. Grunz's TAS. Like, I mean, I didn't copy his inputs, but I reverse engineered it from there.
Yeah, I've had to do that backflip as well. It's definitely tougher than it looks.
It's really awkward. Like, it was a pretty picky angle. So I needed to get Sonata because I need to enter Woodfall Temple. I do need to beat all 4 dungeons to get to the moon, because I am not allowed to use the things that let you skip that. And then while I'm here, I'll also get Song of Soaring, which is right outside. And if you've seen speedruns before, you're probably aware of the pop-up you can do grabbing this ledge as human, but you can also grab this ledge as Deku if you're very careful. That last hop goes just high enough, and that skips 2 transforms.
I tried pretty extensively to get that with Deku and a pop-up in glitchless, and I don't think it's possible, so...
Yeah,
the time save is just mass transformations.
I also tried to get it on the previous hop, too, because I kind of had to do... Like, you have to just sit there waiting for the last hop. I felt like I could get it from the previous lily pad, but I couldn't. No, I don't think there is any other way into Woodfall without Sonata. It's been theorized, and like, I think people have tried it with remote hookshot slash hovers, but I don't think it's known to be possible.
There's like some really bizarre way that's not practical at all. It involves like, I think it's a wrong warp from the Pirates Fortress sewers somehow. Nice. I would have to check GNS's channel.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know about that.
I just remember it's not even remotely practical.
Oh, is there? Alright. This room's pretty neat. Don't get to see this in speedruns too often. And then, like I said, I need to be taking some damage here. Like many runs do, I'm going to be death warping from Woodfall, so I can come back later and finish it faster. I also made sure to get that nut text as human, as Deku nut text is much slower as Deku.
Yeah, if you collect a Deku nut as Deku for the first time, then it wants to explain slowly about how you can also drop them while flying.
Yeah. I've never actually checked, is the text itself different, or is it just the text box speed?
The text is also different.
Huh. Yeah, I didn't know that.
If you collect it as human, they keep you completely in the dark that you can use them as Deku while flying, except for the fact that you see the icon. So you'd probably figure it out.
So like I said, it's going to be fastest to finish Woodfall later on once I have a couple of other very important items. The reason I'm here at all is to get the bow, which will be useful for some other things though. A little bit of damage while I'm waiting on the bomb. And I can just make it here without ISG. We'll talk about that strat in the second half. But neat strat. That is in RTA runs, but it's very heavily pause buffered.
Oh, I did not know that was an RTA. That's really cool.
Yeah, we do that. There's a good setup. I think Jimmy came up with it. Yeah, I should have mentioned this at the beginning. So there are a couple of other routes that work for this category and that are competitive with this, and they might even be faster for TAS, but I didn't really want to get bogged down in timing different routes, so I just went with the RTA route for this. It's possible that it is fastest, but I don't know. Oh, I'll talk about that some more once we've watched it. So unfortunately it's not possible to get a quick death warp off of that chest. The text is just too long. So now, I have the bow, and the bow is going to be instrumental in hitting that hidden owl statue. So now I'm going to head back to Clocktown. Got a couple other things to do on the way, though. So I don't need to be in first person this time. Much easier to TAS it this way. Okay, and yeah, on the way back to Clocktown, it'll be convenient to get this bottle. I'll kind of be using 3 bottles this run, though I'm only going to actually get one of them. Yeah, side hopping in general tends to be fast. I'll talk more about movement options after we've watched the whole thing, because there are a lot of details to talk about.
Yeah, Deku movement is deceptively complex.
It is, and I didn't even get into some of the complexities of it. Yep, the jump. I think you figured that one out, right, for the glitchless TAS?
Yeah.
And I think it saved, like, 2 frames over getting on the ladder normally.
An incredibly small amount of time.
Yeah. There's another one of those later, too, that also saves 1 or 2 frames. Unfortunately, I couldn't think of a way to get across this as human, so I have to transform again. Also, here's one slight deviation from what you'd do RTA. RTA, you would drink the red potion and fill the bottle with water, for a reason I'll explain very soon. But because I can do RNG manipulation for a TAS, I didn't need to do that. So, other big thing that I need to do on the way to Clocktown is visit with a Burge. And while I'm waiting for the Burge to come down, I can get some supplies. So Takori has stolen my sword. What a mistake. TAS must have desynced. This route involves getting... doing an interesting sword-related glitch. And that involves losing the sword. But yeah, I got a bunch of rupees and bombs there in preparation for the rest of the run.
I believe that would have been the fastest place regardless to get the sword stolen, but Takuri actually can't steal your sword until you have the quiver.
Yeah, so I needed the bow for that. And now I just bought the sword as Deku. Well, I bought it as human, but then transformed Deku before he gave it to me. And that just miraculously puts the sword on Deku Link's B button. So I can't use bubbles anymore. I have the sword as Deku Link. And for some reason, that does great fairy sword damage. But that's not the reason that I got it. It's going to be used for a glitch that we'll see pretty soon. Speaking of glitches we'll see pretty soon, this is where I'll finally hit the hidden owl statue. I'm back here in West Clocktown. I just did a glitch called Action Swap to make Deku make the Deku stick long and inverted, and I used that to hit the owl statue from way over here. I had to keep looking at the owl statue for a while there, otherwise it wouldn't have counted as being activated. So that's neat. So now I've got that done, and I have Song of Soaring as well. So I can use the glitch index warp to warp to various places that I haven't even been to yet, based on some other places that I have been to. If I move the cursor on the map menu on the pause screen to certain locations, then I get to warp to other certain locations, is the deal. One last thing before I use that, I'm getting the Moons tier. One of the route options I mentioned earlier that I'm not using skips Moons tier, and I don't know how some of the details work out, but basically uses a Zora egg for the same thing I will use Moons tier for. But again, I just wanted to stick with basically the RTA route. And what? Oh yeah, now I'm going to do something that looked completely useless. I'm going to go to Mountain Village, and then make my way to Goron Village, and then leave. But like I said a minute ago, certain map points on the pause screen let you warp to certain other places, and the place that'll allow me to warp to is very useful.
Yeah, generally I think in most routes this is the only major detour to get a warp point available for index warp.
Yeah. I guess Milk Road would have been one before, but now it's not.
Oh yeah.
Since Milk is so useful. Also, normally RTA, this trip would be in a different section of the run, but I was trying to spend some extra in-game time here. And it didn't work out, but it is what it is. It was optimal to do this here anyway because of how the pausing worked out. Yeah, Tektite has. I matched you on that one, Fox. Oh, here's something kind of cool. So because I can't do any hovers, bomb chews, which are useful for fast hovering and for interrupting mega flips, aren't useful for those things. So I get to use bomb chews for some kind of unusual things, and that means that I have enough bomb chews here to get that very early recoil, get to Macau very fast, and then do an A-slide to make this cycle so that I can hit the load zone before he reaches the shore, and not have to wait at all for that cutscene skip.
Yeah. And also, something worth mentioning is that the super swim off the recoil flip from that platform only works on Japanese because the platform is a little bit higher out of the water.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that, yeah.
Yeah, you can do a super swim on English, but you'd have to do it with a recoil jump.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that's an A-slide. I guess we have a minute to talk about that now. So in RTA speedruns, you've seen super slides and Hesses as kind of your fast forms of movement. In TASs, you'll see two other basic things, or fundamental things, I should say, that are Z-slides and A-slides. Z-slides so-called because you have to alternate between targeting and not targeting every frame, and targeting is on the Z button on N64. And A-slides because you're using the analog stick, you're alternating between neutral and a direction every frame. And they're used, excuse me, they're used for different purposes. They do slightly different things, but they are, excuse me, the same speed as Hessing and super sliding. They're negative 18. Yeah, again, when we're going room by room, I'll talk more about why I used a Z-slide or an A-slide for certain things. And yeah, there's at least one RTA, or one A-slide that's used in RTA runs in all masks to get past the boulder for Milk Road. Yeah, because you don't have to do it perfectly for it to work, but to maintain 18 speed you do. But yeah, all you have to do to skip the cutscene with Macau walking up the shore is hit the load zone and have the cutscene start while the load is starting. And I was just fast enough to do that with the recoil flip, super swim, and the A-slide. I'm going to want to be Zora to go to Pirate's Fortress now. I want to get the hookshot and the Zora egg. And I transformed to Deku first just to shorten the animation of transforming to Zora for the first time. Now here's the first Zora Super Swim anyway. I like this one. We'll talk more about how Super Swims work a little later. This looks like a desync, but it's not, I promise. I'm actually curious, Yumis, do you know why I did that?
I'm not completely sure.
Okay, because I don't know. I mean, I do know why I did it, but I don't know why it's a thing. For some reason, when I entered the room and faced that direction immediately, the boat cycle was later when I got to the boat. It was farther along. So, something
Really?
to do with loading? I have no idea. It saved frames.
That's really weird.
Yeah. But speaking of the boat cycle, I can't do the normal hover and mega flip to get into Pirate's Fortress, but I can do this. That was slashing off the boat with the Deku sword, and then pulling the Moon's Tear so that Deku Link did a dive into the water, hit the vent coming out of, like, exiting the sewers, and then that gave him flowers, because that's how that works.
Yeah, those underwater vents are actually the same actor as is used in the Stone Tower with the updrafts that you can ride.
Yeah. Here, stole this movement from the glitchless TAS. So I got a side hop right before the cutscene started, and now you can see Link climbing the barrel in the background during the cutscene. Because you maintain control of Link during cutscenes as far as climbing is concerned. That movement was like the most awkward thing in the entire TAS. I don't know how you did it as fast as you did in the glitchless TAS.
Opening the chest?
Yes. Just getting around that corner.
It's a little weird.
Here's a cool pop-up. Anytime you're grabbing a ledge that has a corner like that, you can get a pop-up if you're very, very careful. And soon I will have to be very, very, very careful for one of those. That one was not bad at all. The next one is stupid. Like, when I'm making tasks, I tend to like figuring things out myself, kind of trying to reverse engineer them just so I am forcing myself to understand them. Oh yeah, that backflip saved like 2 frames. The next pop-up is something that I asked for help on. And Yumiya said, it's just stupid.
Yeah, this one's pretty bad.
Yeah, that pop-up there. But it is faster than clipping in and swimming in the tank, so got there eventually.
Yeah. There's a reason that I didn't find it until after the first time I climbed that tank in glitchless.
Yeah. Yeah, and here's normal RTA thing. I'm equip swapping over my Moon's Tear, don't need it anymore. And getting my 7 Zora eggs that way. Just duplicating them.
Wonder if he's gonna lose count.
Oh no. I think I actually did while I was... I had to stop and check. See if I got tech.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. It just takes so long to do each drop.
Yep. And then between the last egg and the automatic text that pops up, there's just enough time to get a side hop. And it doesn't actually skip the text, you still get it afterwards, but it just means that you don't have your movement interrupted. Oh, sorry, I thought that was the last one.
I knew it, he lost count.
And then you can learn this song without ever playing it. You just pull out the ocarina frame perfectly after you've pulled it out to start the cutscene. I think it was 4 frames, Fox. Because I compared your work in progress to Yumiya's. I wrote it down somewhere.
I was quite surprised to hear that that was faster than the clip.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of surprised too. So with that, I'm finally prepared to actually finish a dungeon now. I'm gonna head over to Great Bay Temple. There's a good incentive not to finish Woodfall first, because you get an extra long cutscene after beating the dungeon if you finish it as your first dungeon. You have to do some more super sliding, or super swimming here. Oh, and I came up with this...
super swim off that guy.
There's a neat pop-up I came up with here that saved a few frames over Fox's work in progress as well.
Yeah, that one surprised me. I did not know you could do that.
I saw a corner and I went for it. So this is...
a little bit of a non-standard corner.
Yeah. This is a standard cutscene skip. You can delay a cutscene starting by a frame at a time if you just keep pausing frame perfectly. Yes, THK. And then I'm also going to skip the cutscene with the pirates. Normal thing you do RTA. I'm going to use time stop to do that. So I'm just getting bomb time stop, hitting the cutscene trigger in time stop, so the cutscene trigger kind of activates but doesn't play. And then I can deactivate time stop and hit this load zone to trigger the cutscene as I'm entering the load. Kind of the same as I did with the Skull Kid cutscene. Now, in Great Bay Temple, in this category, I don't need to do anything except beat the boss. So I'm just going to go to the boss. Oh, no, Toxic. I'll explain that in the upcoming post-boss cutscene. Thanks for reminding me. So here I'm going to do a weird shot to hit Gyro before the fight starts, which skips the intro cutscene. And I'm using another bomb to get a super swim here. Without having to do a jump slash. And then I can use the power of the Deku Sword to make this fight very quick. Like I said, it does great fairy sword damage. That's it. No mid-fight cutscene.
Yeah, I've seen people do great fairy sword strats in Hundo, but I haven't seen it done that way before.
Yeah. And it's easier to do that with Deku Sword ISG, because if you just use the sword while you're still bouncing on the water, then you automatically get ISG. But obviously that's not allowed in this category. Yeah, so the thing about the spring water, Takori, the bird that stole my sword, it can steal your bottles as well, but only if they have certain contents. And those include, I think it's all potions, and I think it was a couple other things, but not spring water. So RTA, we get spring water just to prevent Takori from stealing the bottle instead of the sword. Which is just RNG. So I manipulated it. I don't know what the chances of that are, but I actually didn't really have a problem with that. He stole my sword pretty much every time.
Yeah, it's not, like, a big chance, but the fact that it can happen and just ruin your run RTA is not ideal.
Yeah. Now, there are cutscene skips for all of the post-Remains cutscenes. It's a trick called Remains Escape, we'll see it later. But you can't skip the first one and still beat the game under NMG rules, because the first one is what teaches you Oath to Order. So if I skipped this, I would never learn Oath, could never get to the moon. Yeah, Giga, this is RTA route. What do you mean? I didn't fight a Dole. Sorry, old
Spoilers.
Dole. Remote hookshot? I have no idea what you're talking about. Yet. I'll probably know soon, though. Okay, I know now. There's a trick called remote hookshot. It involves using milk. So I need to get some milk. It's going to be useful in the next dungeon. Unfortunately, this is something that didn't really work out. I need to buy milk from the Gorman brothers, and it's not daytime yet. I was too fast. So I thought of a lot of different ways that I could have made this work. And what ended up being the fastest, I timed a lot of things, was just to do a day reset here. It's faster than just playing the song normally. So what I'm going to do is get time stop in front of a gossip stone and play a song. That allows me to play Ocarina while moving. And then I can read that sign to make the text come up faster. And then using Song of Double Time during that load zone did a day reset. All I really needed was for it to be daytime. Day 2 would have been fine, but now it's day 1 again.
Yeah, any in-game time routing for TAS is kind of a giant headache.
Yeah. Yeah, if I maybe could have... I really can't think of any other things that I could have done differently to make that work, but there might be some things. Like, there are some small things, but they wouldn't have added up to enough. So here is where you'd normally use the first remote hookshot in the run. This is a TAS, so I'm not going to. I'm instead going to Hess all the way into Snowhead Temple without ISG. With my handy Deku stick.
I did not know there was a remote hook strat here, that's cool.
Yeah, it's really slow. You do a Zora/hover.
I see.
That's what we do RTA.
This looks just miserable to do, by the way.
It was something. It took me a few days. This, right here, balancing on the snowball, that was the hardest part. So yeah, I'm slashing the sword so that Link doesn't fall off the edge. I have to do that every time the wind... Except, watch this. He just went right through that snowball. I'll explain that when we go room by room later. But I made it in. Yep, no ISG lullaby skip without sword or Goron. Here I'm doing a little text skip by changing what Link is holding. And then an A-slide, this is too fast. An A-slide to get under that ice. Really quick hookshot up to here. And here's the first use of remote hookshot. This application is for a hookshot jump. So I'm going to have the remote hookshot, I'll explain it later, get interrupted at the same time that I'm hookshotting upwards towards this torch. Gives Link a ton of height. And then I can recoil back to the boss door and then do a quick boss key skip. All of that was really fast, and then this is really slow. So in this route, we skip Fire Arrow, instead doing a different glitch. Well, the same glitch that I used for the Hidden Owl, though a different application of it, to get Goat unfrozen. So I'm going to shoot a lit arrow from my Deku stick. Sorry, go ahead.
That glitch requires a text box to be able to activate, and there's not one readily available in here.
Yeah, so the one I had to use was the one that Tattle comes up with after 30 seconds spent in an area when you don't have the ocarina. And you may be thinking, but you do have the ocarina. But I don't, because I equip swapped my milk over it, and I drank the milk so the ocarina was replaced by half milk. And I'll need to get that back at some point. But I don't have it now. This is kind of a standard goat fight. For speedruns, anyway. And then I'm doing a little bit of random stuff at the end because there seems to be some RNG in how long this cutscene lasts. So I was trying to optimize that. Here's the first use of Remains Escape. I don't want to watch the cutscene for the goat remains. So I'm just going to try to pick up this bomb with the hookshot in hand, and I'm going to pick up the blue warp instead, for some reason. And that put the remains in the inventory, but it also allowed me to death warp instead of getting stuck in the cutscene. And now I can just leave. I don't know why he picks up the blue warp. I have no idea.
Yeah, I had been away from this game for a while when that was discovered, and I saw that, and it was just the strangest thing.
I love it as a visual. It's so funny. But I know it's something to do with like the hookshot being an actor and it being in Link's hand or something. I don't know. I only have a hand-wavy explanation for it myself. You read the explanation and you still don't know. Yeah, it sounds like
The game gets confused.
it does. So having a hookshot in Woodfall Temple is very convenient. Do some nice precise shots to get across these rooms quickly. And then one more use of action swap to open up the north wing. And from there I can do a boss key skip. But this boss key skip involves remote hookshot, which is why I couldn't do it earlier. Didn't have the hookshot or milk yet. This is called a hook slide. Link does that. That's how hook slides work. So one thing
if I'm not mistaken, once he starts doing that, he's just stuck like that until he hits a load, right?
Yep. Yeah, you can void or hit a load, or you can just soft lock. So one thing that's kind of awkward about remote hookshot being all over the place in this category is that it necessarily heals you, because it involves milk. And I want to die after this, so I'm going to be taking damage in some fun ways. Before the fight, I took double damage off of one bomb chew, because bombs and bomb chews have 2 damage frames when they explode, and if you transform on exactly the right frame, then you take 1 bit of damage as human, and then 1 bit as the transformation. Because you're not invincible anymore. And I do the same thing here, which works out nicely, because I want to be human after this, and dying transforms you to human automatically. So that's another remains escape, and I'm out. Why this dungeon order for Gim? So the next trick that I'm about to do is another application of remote hookshot. This is called Get Item Manipulation. Remember, I got rid of my ocarina earlier, and I need that back, otherwise I can't go to the moon. So I'm doing a trick called Get Item Manipulation. We'll try to explain it later, but basically I just got my ocarina from that chest instead of 20 rupees or whatever it is. Oh yeah, I mentioned not needing spring water earlier. I do want it now, though. You'll see why in a minute. I like using OI for this warp, or for this soar, because I just got ocarina back, and then I'm not using it. But yeah, it would be slow to equip it. Here's a neat trick that Fox came up with. Way to enter Stone Tower very quickly. And I'm looking forward to talking about that one in detail, because I actually did optimize that a little bit. But it's just, there's too much to talk about in real time.
Yeah, any of the block tricks in Stone Tower climb are just, it's too much.
Here's why I got the spring water. It works as light arrow for some reason, under certain conditions.
I was really surprised that drop spot worked.
Yeah, I had to mess around with that. I was on the very edge. And then here I'm going to do Get Item Manipulation again. I just need to enter the water to get the item. It looks like it's the large quiver, but it was in fact light arrow. Light arrow and ocarina are the only items, the only useful items that you can get through Get Item Manipulation in this game. And if you're thinking, just putting random items in the inventory that you didn't get the normal way sounds like a major glitch, I agree, but it's allowed in the No Major Glitches rule set.
Yeah. I feel like the name just isn't ideal, but whatever.
It is a bad name. It is at best a misleading name, but that's... I can argue about that some other time.
Yeah.
Alright, so inverted stone tower temple. I needed to come here to fight Twin Mold. The boss load zone is not in normal stone tower. And then again, in-game time didn't work out here. I need it to be nighttime to enter the clock town. Maybe not for the reason that you think, though. So the fastest way I could come up with to do that was to store the song and then activate it later by opening up a text box. But this boss key skip will look pretty familiar. Many boss key skips in normal any % NMG boil down to hovers. And I can't do hovers, so I'm doing remote hookshot instead. And then I'm just pulling up this text box to read about bomb chews, and that activates the stored song text from when I did that ocarina dive and played Song of Double Time.
And the reason he doesn't just immediately fall down after leaving the room is that every room, the geometry is always loaded. It just only loads the actors and the textures of the room you're currently in.
Yeah, so I was sliding along a corridor there, not just in free space. You just couldn't see it. So this is neat. I hadn't seen this before. I had to kind of research this. Twin Mold's hitboxes, they're on their tails in this mode of the fight, but they continue to exist after Twin Mold goes underground. They're just invisible. So
yeah, I thought they only existed while visible, so this was a cool thing to see.
Yeah, they exist all the time. I'll talk about how they move around when we're going room by room, but yeah, the hitbox for the tail is always there. Just not where
How
you'd
fun
expect.
was it aiming at an invisible
Oh my
tail?
god, it was so bad. Like, I had to research how they moved by using KZ Hitbox Viewer, and even then it was terrible. The hitbox for the head isn't active when you don't have Giant's Mask on. You can't damage the head. But yeah, 2 weird shots and that Twin Mold goes down very, very quickly, even with normal arrows. Here I'm going to do another Remains Escape, and then I want to leave the arena by A-sliding. I don't have enough bombs to die. I guess I technically did, but I think that... Or no, that definitely would have been slower. I checked it. And that's it. That's 4 dungeons. This task goes really quickly once you have all the supplies. So now I just want to go to the moon.
So Clocktown at night has an added cosmetic feature that's going to be useful here.
Yes. Yeah, you might be thinking, I wanted it to be night in Clocktown so the door is open, but it's not night 3. It's not after midnight. What I really needed was the torches that are here. With the torches, I can use my handy remote hookshot and do yet another hook slide. Though this time with a really interesting bottle trick, again, I'll talk about in the room by room, to redirect the remote hookshot so that it's not just bringing me back to the torch.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. That was cool.
Yeah, we do that one RTA too. Of course, it looks a little different, but it's a really interesting explanation. Exodus has a video explaining it. It's basically if the point where you start the remote hookshot, where you drink the milk, and the point where you pull out the bottle, have the torch in between those 2 points, then the bottle becomes the point that your hookshot gets pulled to. So it's, I did still have to go all the way over there for it to work, but it was able to redirect it and get me into the clock tower, which is a little bit more precise than it looks. Like, it's not super precise, but if you go at slightly the wrong angle, then you'll actually get pulled down into the lower clock tower load zone, like where the Happy Mask Salesman is, which is not useful.
Yeah, I need to play with hook slides more. I've never actually done a hook slide in a TAS.
They were pretty neat. Yeah, see ya, Fox. Thanks for all the indirect help. Oh, I maybe should have mentioned this earlier. The RTA record for this category, which also starts without first cycle, is 1 hour and 4 minutes by Kai. I think I can beat it. We'll see.
I just have the mainstream pause. Where's our timer at?
Yeah, might have to cheat a little bit.
Yeah, there's a decent chance you'll beat it.
We'll see. This cutscene is a little laggy. Could take 20 minutes. Yeah, I need to wait for it to be night 3 on the moon. How many hours were spent on the TAS approximately? I don't know. I was working on it a lot for several weeks. I don't know how many hours, though.
I've never had a good estimate for the hours spent on any of my tasks either, so it's kind of hard to know.
Yeah, and I know people keep track of re-record count, but I've never done that because I feel like I do a lot of extra save state loading that would count towards that. That is just for the sake of making sure I'm in record mode. So it's not really representative. Yeah, at least 3 hours is probably a good estimate. Oh, sorry, spoilers, guys. It was the mask. The mask killed
Alright, now whatever you do, don't take the moon warp.
Would be pretty foolhardy. I think Tattle's trying to dissuade me, but I don't speak Japanese, so I can't tell.
I can't read quite well enough to be able to tell you either. I also can't read that fast.
Yeah. What do you mean it's slow text? Chop chop. Alright, one last bomb use here. And you can tell from my equips how this fight is going to go.
So forward A slide to this kid is really good. You have to be facing him to talk to him, so it just works out the best there.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons you might choose one of those forms of movement I was talking about earlier over another. Which direction you're facing. No, the slide I was just doing is an A slide, and that doesn't require ESS. I'll talk about what it does require after this fight. Once again, Deku Sword does great Fairy Sword damage, so this fight is going to be pretty quick. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to knock down the mask as Deku then.
I mean, technically, you could wait for him to spin to the ground.
I suppose that's true, yes. I don't have a fast way to knock down the mask as Deku. But I do have a fast way to knock down Incarnation as Deku. I'll talk about damaging Incarnation in a minute, because this is actually unfortunately slow. I think it's
Incarnation is weird.
Yeah, I think it is the best that I could have done with Deku Sword, but it is weird.
Yeah, we did a Deku Sword in the low percent TAS as well, so I'm familiar with that.
Ah, yeah. There you have it. 80% NMG, no ISG in 49 minutes and 32 seconds. Yeah, thank you for the G's, everyone. Thank you, thank you. Hope you guys enjoyed. So, like I've been saying, we're going to now go through the entire TAS, room by room, and just talk about all the interesting stuff that went on that we didn't have time to talk about in the moment. And I think that'll be interesting for you guys, because I think not a lot of people know some of the details that go into TASing. And at least I find it really interesting. So we're not going to watch the credits right now, though there is a version of this that I'll link in the description of this video on YouTube that has the credits and no commentary, in case you hate us. So give me 1 second to just turn that off. Close that. And is this right? Turn this back on? Yeah, I think this is right. So to do that, to go through it room by room, I have the YouTube video, because YouTube lets you frame advance easily. So to answer a question too that came up just a minute ago, before we get into the rest of this, the movement options, the basic bomb movement options that I was using are, again, hessing, which is the one where Link is shuffling his feet and kind of going at an angle, A sliding, which is where Link is kind of popping in and out of the ground or doing a weird shuffle thing, and Z sliding, where the targeting is happening over again. Woo, 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 that thing. And there's they all have subtle differences, even though they are all the same max speed. With a Hess, you can turn most easily without losing any speed. With a Z slide, you can go in a straight line, which a Hess technically does, but it's at a weird angle. And you can also make some other turns that are useful. And with an A slide, you can do kind of the same thing as a Z slide, but you're facing forward. So if you have to open a door or talk to Majora or something, then that's really useful. So I'll as we go through the rooms, I'll try to remember to talk about why, a certain thing is a Z slide instead of an A slide or whatever.
Yeah. Something I would like to mention is that any form of slide can be converted into a Z slide with the right inputs.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be very hard to do RTA. Yeah, I guess I should mention that too. Z slides and A slides are not really RTA viable as a way of preserving speed for that long, because you have to either press and then release target every other frame, or move the control stick from neutral to a direction every frame, alternating. Whereas for a Hess, you just need to be holding ESS. Yeah, so as you probably noticed, side hopping is a very good form of movement when you don't have explosives or whatever. This is especially true as human, because max side hop speed is 8.5 and max backwalk speed is only 8.25. Backwalk speed is constant, but it requires some startup, some acceleration, whereas a side hop is instantaneous once you have the angle. So for short distances, at least, side hops end up being faster. For longer distances, sometimes backwalking is better. And of course, it's situational as well. If you want to be facing a certain direction, that can matter. And spacing matters as well. One very little thing I want to point out with side hops, you'll notice that I change angles here as I go around the cutscene trigger for the Deku, the business scrub. Whenever I'm going to change angle, I do an untargeted side hop beforehand, so that when Link lands, he gets to turn, like his angle can change 1 frame earlier than if he's targeted. Excuse me, and all you have to do that is release target 1 frame before pressing A for the side hop. And then similar thing here, I had to go around the bomber. So I did an untargeted side hop there to change angle. This is not very interesting, this menu. And then I couldn't get side hopping to be faster here, though I feel like maybe it could have been if I could find a way up that ledge. I know you can do it, I've seen it in a TAS before, but...
I think the backwalk there is better. One thing I am going to note is that with the right RNG on the Bomber Kid, you can get to the bank pretty cleanly with only 1 angle for side hops.
Okay, yeah. So I did try manipulating his RNG for a little while, but I guess I didn't go as hard as I could have on it. I at least got him to walk pretty far away, but yeah, I still had to change angle. I guess that's something else I should mention, RNG manip. Something that's really, really useful in tassing this game is that if you just do some random inputs, like your inputs directly feed into the RNG value, even during loads, which is super nice. So manipulating that guy's RNG, I just like reloaded the save state before the load over and over and did random stuff with the control stick. I don't know, actually, Yumius, when you're tassing, do you ever use a controller? Because I use a controller a lot.
I actually do not have a controller that can hook up to USB, so... Or, well, technically that's not true, but I don't have a controller that I would feel comfortable using with this game.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I know it's unorthodox, but I just like doing things with a controller sometimes. Certainly not all the time, but some things are just comfier. Like if I'm just putting in random stick inputs, then I'd rather spin a stick than move my mouse. But yeah, that's really useful because, like in Twilight Princess, for instance, which I made a glitchless TAS for that, things have to actually like change in the game world, I guess, for RNG to be affected. If you just do random inputs that don't do anything, then RNG is not affected. You have to change the camera, you have to change how Link moves, something like that. So that was really nice, actually, for RNG manip.
Yeah, in my case, for RNG manipulation through loading zones, I use a Lua script to set analog angles.
Okay, so it kind of repeats it for you looking for an end condition?
Yeah. It depends on what I'm doing. I haven't made the script very smart.
Okay.
It does what I need it to do.
Okay, so you're kind of monitoring it as it goes, and you stop it if it does what you want.
Yeah. If there's a clear condition, then I can make it check for that. But
okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I've never bothered with any scripting, though I should mention, shoutouts to Big Ben, who was here earlier, I don't know if he's still here, who has tasked multiple Zelda games now and is working on a TP any % TAS. Hi Ben. Hi Big. Thank you for the TAS Studio version of Dolphin that you made. This was, as far as I know, maybe the first TAS, at least full game TAS done on Dolphin, because I wanted to use WeVC. And I used a bunch of features that Ben added to his specific fork of Dolphin, like being able to advance 1 input frame at a time, which Dolphin couldn't do before, and using a input list editor. Very, very, very useful stuff. So thanks, Ben. I mentioned before that there were some little things I could have done differently that affect in-game time. And I ended up having too much. So one little thing that I could have done is not talk to the bomb shop guy here until he had already walked to the counter. Because as you can see, I can't actually advance his text and buy bombs until he's walked to the counter. That would have made a difference of like a second or two, and that wouldn't have been enough to skip the song, so it wouldn't have made a difference at all. And I was aware of that when I got here in the TAS, but I had no idea whether I was going to have enough in-game time. So like in an RTA run, we play Inverted Song of Time to slow time around the time we reach Takuri, get the sword stolen. And then, even then, in-game time reaches the day transition around Great Bay Temple. And in this task, I didn't invert at all, and I still wasn't at daytime at Great Bay. So I really had no idea at this point what in-game time was going to be like, and I just needed to TAS it to figure it out. It's kind of the nature of TASing in-game time.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah. All right, and here is something that I hope didn't make you cringe too hard, Yumius. Just gonna address the elephant in the room. So I wanted to equip. Was my cursor? Where was my cursor? Okay, every time I didn't equip for the first half of this run or so, I lost a frame. Because I didn't realize that you can press the direction to the next item that you want to equip and the C button on the same frame. I thought you had to press the button on the next frame. So, whoops, but I learned.
Yeah. Also, I can't tell just from watching, but the angle you got for this backwalk, did you already have that angle when you stopped talking to him, or did you have to turn?
I don't think I turned.
Okay.
Yeah, the funny thing is... Oh, yeah, I guess you can't see it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I didn't turn. I remember thinking about that. Yeah, the funny thing about that is that I knew that's why Equip Swap worked, and I even did Equip Swap before realizing that I could be doing that for all my equips. I just didn't think about it. So, that there are a lot of little things that you have to learn when you're doing your first task. And fortunately, that one only costs 1 frame per equip. 1 30 FPS frame.
And having experience with this game RTA and also experience tasking in general does help you out, since I've definitely seen a lot of first tasks with the task competitions, and the quality of those varies quite significantly.
Yeah, I've watched most of those, which, by the way, if you guys haven't seen the task competition compilation videos that are on Yumius' channel, you should definitely check those out. It's just short tasks that people task and compete to see who can do it the fastest, and it's really cool seeing them all side by side. Here's something I only realized that this wasn't the best way to do this when I watched your gold dust task the other day.
Yeah.
But I think you do an A slide rolling into the guard.
Yeah, A slide or Z slide, I don't remember.
Yeah, one of the two. You just kind of roll into the guard so you're a little closer to the load zone when you get speed, but...
Yep.
Yeah, I just didn't think of that. Another thing here, so as I start this Hess, I drop the bomb and then roll forwards, which is kind of what you do RTA. I didn't realize until, I think, a few more minutes into the task that you can drop the bomb a little bit earlier so that Linga rolls into the bomb, and that stops him from moving farther than he needs to. So I started doing that, I think, in Deku Palace, or maybe the Hess after that.
Yeah. And also, the backwalk out of that little entrance there, or
Yeah.
getting out of that little entrance, you could have done a curved backwalk to get out just a little smoother.
Yeah, instead of walking
It's
forward.
a very small difference.
Yeah, I saw that in the Gold Dust task as well, I think. Oh, so remember I mentioned a few minutes ago that editing the input list in Dolphin as one of the features that Ben added? This situation is one where that was very useful. So basically I recorded some inputs and then realized that the bomb that I pulled out to get time stop in front of the Gossip Stone, I pulled out too early. So I didn't have time to get time stop. So I just went into my input list and moved the bomb input to a little bit earlier and then played it back instead of having to redo the entire thing. Very, very handy.
Yeah, I do that same thing.
Yeah, I know it's only a novelty for Dolphin. Yeah, like BizHawk has had that for a long time, right?
Yeah, I don't use the built-in Task Studio,
Oh, okay.
piano player list for it. I open the movie file in a zip with a zip file opener and edit the input log.
Huh, okay. Yeah, if I ever do TAS this on BizHawk, I'll have to ask you about that. Right, so just to talk about this glitch in a little more detail, I'm getting time stop in front of the Gossip Stone, which puts me in the ocarina playing state so I can play a song while moving. And the important thing is that I can get out of that state while the song is still playing. So I play the song, and then that's when I start moving and getting to the load zone. So like I said, I can activate the cutscene while hitting the load zone after this day transition, or night transition.
Yeah, and something I actually did test out because I was curious about it is that I know you can get just on the edge of the trigger and play the song a double time to skip it that way. And I was curious if that would beat out going that extra distance to get the super slide and time stop method. And the time stop method is just a small amount faster, like about a second.
Huh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. So you just, like, pull Ocarina the first frame, you step in the cutscene trigger?
Yeah.
Huh, yeah, that's cool. That makes sense.
Yeah, but your method is still just a little better, so
nice.
It works out.
Fortuitous. So I felt like, in this Hess in particular, I felt like I didn't do the directions very well. Like I was kind of curving more than I wanted to. And I wonder if maybe a Z-slide, I'll have to look at the angles again, but I feel like maybe a Z-slide with a turn at the end would have been better. It's hard to say.
Typically what I'd do for a spot like this, since the tree's in the way, I'd probably do Hess initially and then switch to a Z-slide at the end.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and that was something, like converting to a Z-slide like you were talking about before, that was something I didn't really, like I think I knew it existed, but I hadn't thought of why you would do that until I saw it in Pirate's Fortress, turning up the stairs. Because I didn't realize that you could just turn so sharply like that. I think I would have used that. Definitely in Deku Palace, getting the rupee.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was going to mention.
Yeah, that was sloppy, and I knew it at the time, I just didn't know how to fix it. Why are we watching a cutscene? Oops.
Because it's a nice cutscene.
It is a nice cutscene. No music, though. So this... like I said, this was kind of hard to TAS. Not this part, but the side hops here. Because like, you can even see as I do that first person side hop, the camera is turning really slowly while I'm side hopping. Because the C-up camera just takes a little while to adjust to the angle that you're actually facing. So it looks like I'm kind of zigzagging all over the place, but I'm not.
And there's a niche little optimization I'm going to mention with getting first-person glitch that you could have done there.
Okay.
So I'm sure you've heard people complain about lily pad RNG, probably ironically.
Yeah.
But the lily pads move around slightly. If while it's sinking, you move like to the edge of the lily pad against the direction it's moving, you can see up there and get into the first-person glitch without having to wait on it sinking all the way down.
Yeah, that's really smart. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, and I don't remember if I already said this. I have asked Yumius to give me a lot of feedback like this. This is one of the ways that I learn, so I appreciate the feedback. He's going to be giving me a lot of tips.
We're not just bullying him for fun.
Yeah, bullying me for profit. Damage roll with Deku Shield. Damage recoil with Deku Shield. Maybe, I mean, you'd have to wait out the bomb timer after the initial recoil. I don't know, I think I would have to try it. But the thing about setting up first person, well, okay, I guess I could have set it up later without doing it at the Octo. If you do it at the Octo, you have to move back away from the Octo for the lily pad to respawn. So that's kind of awkward, but yeah, maybe. It's an idea. Yeah, but to get on the pad as human, I needed the bomb to recoil as well. Maybe there's another way.
I'm not sure how that would have played out.
Yeah, I would just have to try it. Yeah, this ended up, like, the RTA method for this involves voiding out, and it's a whole thing. This was a bit faster. I don't think I have anything else to say for that. Is this where I rolled into the bomb? No, it's the next one.
Not
I remember,
quite yet.
So this, I actually did this Hess for quite a while because, well, here, let me move ahead a few seconds. So what I ended up doing was this bomb boost to get up here, but there's something else that you can do that's a little bit faster, which is to Hess, like, to get good RNG, so this guard over on the left, can you see my cursor? Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
So this guard on the left is facing, or like turns around right as you get here, and you can just barely Hess past him into the wall around, you know, and not get caught. And then you can just jump on the door frame and get there like this. But I spent a long time trying to do that, and then I asked Yumius, like, if he had any tips, if he had ever done it. And his verdict after a bunch of testing was that it's not possible in Japanese. It's English only.
Yeah, which was, I was kind of dumbfounded at that. I didn't think there would be any difference.
Yeah, but he had done it in his randomizer TAS, the April Fool's TAS, and you know, it worked, and that was on English. And then he was testing it on Japanese using, I think, used the exact same coordinates, right, to test it.
Yep.
And it just didn't work. So I gave up. As far as we know, that's a version difference, and I had no idea that was a thing. So I couldn't do that. Oh, and then, yeah, let's look at twisted backflips, because this is tech that you pretty much never see in RTA runs.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing here is an ESS shuffle, just for one frame to, you know, to get into the shuffle. You can't really see it in frame advance, but that's what's happening. So it looks just like a Hess if you hold it, except he's not moving. And then in that state, if you hold a direction while still holding target, the link will turn to face that direction and then turn back to the direction he was facing when you started holding target. It's kind of the same thing as when you're hovering and you see someone turn a direction to change angle. And you can do that to get backflips and side hops in interesting directions. So what I did here with that was get my ESS direction, or like my ESS shuffle here, turn to the right a little bit, and then do a backflip that went leftwards while Link was still facing forwards. And that allowed him to grab this ledge that he normally couldn't grab. And like Yumius was saying, this one in particular was kind of annoyingly precise. It's deceptively difficult. But that's the idea. And then again, here I was just minimizing time spent flying as Deku, because that's really slow. One thing I did here to help minimize that, excuse me, was to get this pop-up here. If Link is close enough below a ceiling, then the game will treat him as on the floor above it, basically. And it's really easy to do that as Deku, because his collision is so small.
There's a couple ideas I had in that section of Deku Palace I'd like to go over a little bit. So here, when you get up on the wall, I'm wondering if after the first backflip it'd be possible to pull a bomb there.
I was just thinking about that this morning.
Platform come to you, then you can just walk onto it.
Yeah. So, well, let me see how much fuse I had left here, because I did have... Yeah, I had enough to just get inverted cam for the hell of it. So maybe, yeah. Because I would have had to wait on the platform a little bit, but...
My other thought is possibly not needing the bomb at all. I was wondering if you could get over to that Mad Scrub and then recoil off of his Deku Nut.
I tried that. Wait, hold on. What did I try? So one thing I know I tried was mega flipping from the platform Link's about to get to, and that actually, if I remember correctly, that did work, but only when the far platform was in certain places where it wasn't. So it didn't actually work. It wasn't fast anyway. For the Deku Scrub, I think I tried that, but I honestly can't remember. Maybe, yeah. I'll give that one a maybe. Maybe with like one of those mega long jumps or recoil jumps.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Oh, right. So before this Hess, getting these rupees was super awkward. I was pretty sure this was the fastest set of rupees to get, but what I really should have done is right here, convert this to a Z-slide to go straight through this these doors, instead of doing this really awkward curve. I didn't know about that yet, really.
Yeah, so if you press a direction while you're hessing, like a full direction, then Link will just turn to that direction and start sliding backwards, and you can start a Z-slide out of that, and you can do that in any direction from a Hess without stopping.
Yeah, really good for sharp turns. And like I said, there's an example of that in Pirate's Fortress, but didn't know about it yet. It's now part of my repertoire. Alright, I think that's all for this. Nothing really to say about the song. I enjoy playing songs out of tune as Deku. It's great.
It's the correct thing to do.
It is. I'm kind of a hypocrite for that because I dislike messing with howling stones in TP in TASs, but as Deku it's just too funny. This is just side hopping.
So I want to mention something actually there.
Ah, okay.
So when I was working on the glitchless TAS, I did 2 routes of Deku Palace. And you didn't see this in the route I ended up going with, but in the alternate route, I got thrown out of Deku Palace as Deku when I was leaving, and found it is a frame faster to backwalk and then spin out of the backwalk into side hops.
Okay, yeah, I didn't think so. I did test side hopping versus back walking, but I didn't test the spin out of it. And yeah, so
yeah, if you
go ahead. Yeah.
If you spin out of a backwalk, it puts you at like 10.3 speed.
Yeah,
and if you do that off of a ledge, then you can target during the spin and get side hop angle that way.
Yeah, and that's compared to, again, side hop speed being max 8.5, but decreasing the longer you're in the air, and back walk speed being 9.
Yeah.
And yeah, I even did use that spin thing in a different part of Pirate's Fortress. But yeah, I didn't think to do it here. That's smart. Yeah, this, I really wanted to take out this last side hop because I spent so long just waiting, but I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, I wasn't able to cut that in glitchless either. I think as well it's fast, so it's kind of hard to count it, but I think there might have been 1 extra side hop to that flower than was needed.
Oh, maybe. I think so.
I counted 8 and I did 7 in glitchless, I'm pretty sure. Okay,
yeah, I'll have to go back and check. So I got better about this as the task went on. There were a number of places where I was comparing side by side, frame by frame with one of the references that I mentioned earlier. And I think this was one of them, though maybe... Okay, one of the reasons that I only revealed what this task was and only told people about it pretty late was that I wanted to just do this to my own standards as someone learning. And I felt like I would have just, pressured myself to make everything more perfect than I could possibly make it as a beginner to begin with. So when I was comparing to my references at the beginning like this, I was going for near, but not necessarily the same. 1 extra side hop is kind of a lot, though. I must have just missed that, if that's true. But like,
it would be an uphill side hop, so it'd be the smallest side hop you can do, but...
Yeah, still. But as I got later and later, I was, for certain rooms, it made sense to try to match it exactly to the frame. And I was able to achieve that most of the time. I'll mention a couple times when I couldn't. But yeah, the beginning, it was definitely rougher. Yeah, being able to turn mid-air during Deku side hops, even targeted ones, is super nice.
Yeah, that's one of the complexities of Deku movement, is that pressing Z in the air does not permanently lock his angle till he reaches the ground.
Yeah, really, really nice for the side hopping across lily pads. This is Song of Soaring. Oh yeah, I did a ledge pop-up here. It was exactly the same speed as not doing that, so I just did it for fun.
Yeah. See, was it possible, like, when you compared that, did you compare that to just side hopping in, like, from the ground the way you did? Because I know that I was able to save a frame by targeting the edge of the door frame to redirect my momentum through it.
Oh, no, I don't think I did that. Yeah, so you target like the last possible frame as you're passing the edge of the door frame, so it pushes you forward a little bit.
Yeah, it's somewhat precise, because if you are, like, not at the very, very edge of it, you'll just direct yourself into the wall.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and kill all your speed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't think of that. This room is really neat. I don't remember if I did this room side by side with anything, but I definitely stole some movement from Mr. Grunz's TAS. And then this, I definitely... there were faster options for that, but I needed to take damage and kill this guy, so I think that was the best I could do given those restrictions. Or at least the best I could think
about the damage initially when I was watching this. I had a note about that, but since you mentioned that, I think that's likely the solution to that problem there.
Yeah, like maybe I could have landed... Could I have landed and continued that with ESS?
Let's see, back up just a little bit. Yeah, so if you did an untargeted recoil flip, then you could have done an ESS from that.
Okay,
you
yeah.
You can also convert targeted recoil flips to Z slides.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I did that entering inverted stone tower.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is possible lag reduction would have been good there. I didn't... So starting this house, I didn't know whether there would be any lag at all. When you TAS TP and Dolphin, there's no lag. But there was definitely lag in this. And so I wasn't really thinking about that at this point. I kind of thought about it later on, but I feel like I didn't actually come up with any ways to reduce lag well. Or actually, no. In Zora Hall, side hopping out of Zora Hall after turtle cutscene skip, side hopping facing one direction was way slower than side hopping facing the other direction. I noticed that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I had to face away from the hall, like turn left.
Yeah, I was surprised watching this how there was not much less lag than there is on BizHawk.
Yeah.
If there was even less at all.
There's one scene in the credits, like with the rainbow above the giants, that's like 2 frames per second. Yeah, needed damage here. Okay, and then getting the nut, that was a little RNG minute. One other cool thing that you can do when you're tassing, much more accurately than you can do RTA, is direct the camera when you're popping out of the flower. Because as Deku Link spins into the flower, if you target on any of those frames, you do turn the camera to face the direction he's facing. So if you do it very cleverly, then you can have the camera facing exactly the direction you want by the end. This movement, Yumius, this is what I decided on after trying a bunch of stuff. It was kind of nice because the text stops you from moving, but doesn't if you're mid-spin, but I feel like this probably wasn't the best.
Yeah, so my thought here is to potentially get the bubble ready to shoot the pot.
Uh-huh.
And then side up onto the side up near the flower and play the song there. And then I think the bubble should be able to reach the pot and have the stick land on the flower from there.
Oh,
I think.
so how would you incorporate the text into that?
So you'd get the text as you're moving to the pedestal to play the song.
Okay, so like just side hop from here, then
Yeah, so like
play the song, then after the text and song, side hop, or sorry, shoot the pot with the bubble, get on the flower, manip the stick to land on the flower.
I was gonna say shoot the pot now, actually.
Oh, okay. Wouldn't I need a bigger bubble since I'm farther away?
Probably what you could do is side up once, like, sort of leftish, and hit it like that.
Okay.
The small bubble is, like, more effective than you would think it is.
Yeah, and I spent no time using Deku bubbles because I had Deku Sword the entire time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that makes sense.
I spent a lot of time with Deku bubbles.
Yeah. Yes, you did. And yeah, you're right. I did get the stick to land on the, or near the flower anyway.
Yeah. Near enough that you can grab it from the spot you dive in.
Yeah. This... I think this is pretty normal. I did a bad recoil intentionally off of the Skulltula, just so I would land right at the door.
Yeah. The only ways I know to skip that flower flight involve ISG, so...
Yeah, I think I've seen that before too. You kind of stand in the root.
Yeah, you can clip into it, and you don't fall if you have ISG.
Right, yeah. So, not relevant here. And then, oh yeah, I was kind of thinking I was just going to stand on the torch to take my last quarter heart of damage here that I needed, but that was really slow, and then I realized the Baba was here, so...
Yep.
Yeah, so this is something unfortunate. There's a different strat for this. So the strat I used was what's called a recoiled jump, where I get a jump and then take knockback while Link still has invincibility frames from the roll. And then I did a damage boost at the end to make it, just barely onto that torch. There's a different strat that Yumius came up with, which, is it called a mega long jump? I might have made that up.
I called it a mega recoil jump, where it's the same principle, except instead of doing a normal jump to initiate it, you face away from where you're going to go and do an ESS twist in time with taking damage, so that you get a mega jump backwards, and then you can recoil off of that to get just a little further than a standard recoil jump.
Yeah, it's just a very small difference, but it would have skipped Link, landing on his back and having to stand back up. He would have landed on his feet. And I didn't know that strat existed. I saw a video of it well after I was past this point in the TAS. So that would have saved a second or something.
Another thing it does is you can do it with 2 bombs.
Right,
because
yeah.
The explosion hits the second bomb, so it would have saved the Chew, which, with no ISG, I'm not sure how useful that would be, but maybe. Yeah,
so you probably noticed while we were watching the whole thing, my Chew usage was really weird. I timed a bunch of stuff with using Chew, using Chew Hesses instead of Bomb Hesses and stuff in various places, but it never ended up being worth it. Like in Stone Tower, for instance, where I used those individual bombs to get to the East Wing and back. I would have had to equip Chews just for that. And
right, and that's generally not going to be worth it to equip them for the express purpose of using them instead of a bomb.
Right, and especially when it's for movement, so you can move while the bomb is counting down its fuse. You're not just waiting out the timer. So, yeah, I'm not really sure whether that would have affected it, but maybe. And then, one very small thing there, I did a jump slash animation cancel to get up from the jump slash a little faster. This, the spacing works out nicely here so that, sorry, let me go back a few frames. From this side hop, I didn't quite land on the ledge. I kind of slipped onto it after falling a little bit. And that does mean that the side hop lost a little bit of extra speed at the end, but it made the spacing work out that I didn't need any walking after the side hops to the door. And then I guess that was technically power crouch stab. I had done a jump slash as part of, getting off of the torch, and that stored, or the way that works on the Japanese version is if you do a crouch stab, excuse me, it does the damage of the last attack Link did. So those 2 crouch stabs were doing jump slash damage, which is why it only took 2 hits to kill full Alphos. Shit, I'm losing my voice. If I'd wanted to, I could have equipped Stick to make that only 1 hit, but same as we were talking about a second ago, it wouldn't have been worth it just for 1 use.
Yeah, in all the tests I've done, it was better to backwalk to the Dynalphos, but I've also never had to kill him with 2 sword jump slash power crouch stabs.
Yeah,
I've only ever had to do a single stick jump slash power crouch stab or 2 sword jump slashes.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I honestly, I did make a habit even from the very beginning of checking side hops versus backwalking all the time. I don't remember in this specific case, but apparently that's what I came up with. Yeah. To be faster. And that did put me right next to the chest as well, so I can open it right away. Now, I mentioned this during the main watch through. If you die, you can get a quick death warp by dying right after this da-na-na-na chest opening jingle has played. Really while it's still playing. That's how it works. But this text box is unfortunately a little bit too long for that to work. So even if I died on the very first possible frame afterwards, the jingle would have been over, and I would have still gotten a slow death.
Yeah, and detonate a bomb tube by dropping it in mid-air, since they run along surfaces. If you drop them in the air, they have nothing to run on. They just blow up. Yeah.
Though actually, I think... what was it? It was one of the TASs I was watching today. Or was it? I don't remember. I think I saw in another TAS that you can die from a bomb chew sooner than that from a chest. I would need to play with that. I didn't really mess with that at the time. I didn't think about it. It sucks. I can't remember where I saw this. I think it was today, but...
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, and the power of side hopping is so great that even though I'm right here facing away from the load zone, primed to backwalk, it was still, I think, a frame or 2 faster to side hop to hit the load zone.
Yep.
Even though I had to turn. Oh yeah, this walking up the tree was neat. that took some guessing and checking.
Yeah, that is, I've had to go up there before. That's a very awkward slope.
Yeah. And that was, another place where it was super useful to be able to use the input editor tool to change when I pulled the bomb after the fact. Yeah, very awkward movement. But, this was actually a good use of a Z-slide, because one other property of Z-slides is that they don't change your horizontal speed when you're going up a slope, even though backwalks do. So what I did was I started backwalking on this flat part right here, and then converted to a Z-slide right as I got to the slope. Excuse me. So I kept the... I don't think I actually had space to get full backwalk speed. I think I was at 7.5 instead of 8.25. But I was able to keep the 7.5 up the slope instead of getting decreased to 4.
Yeah, you'd be going pretty slow if you went up normally. Another use I like of the Z-slide there is turning the camera to face towards the entrance, because on Japanese, when you put on a mask, put on a transformation mask, it makes you face the camera.
Yeah.
So you can skip turning around manually like that.
Yeah, that's true. Oh. Yeah, okay, so I did do that.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay, that was wrong, and I didn't realize that until way later.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, so I think I did it well for every other bow use in the run, but I didn't know at this point that when you pull out the bow, the amount of time it takes to pull out and knock an arrow to be able to shoot it, like it gets delayed if you're moving a little bit or aiming before you pull out the arrow. And like when I was tasking this, I was even thinking at the time, wow, this is taking a while. I guess it's just because I'm in frame advance. It looks a little different. But no, it was actually slow. I figured it out eventually.
Yeah, so first-person camera delay is one of the ways we avoid that, but it's not like the only useful property of it. The main thing is that it lets you move while you're getting the shot ready. But in cases like this, where there's not really any need to do that...
Yeah, because I couldn't have the bow out already.
Yeah, I have a Lewis script that I use to find analog angles that are exactly in line with Link's facing direction so that I can freely aim up and down without having to worry about that.
Yeah, that sounds useful. I mean, I think in this case, it probably didn't even matter because I wasn't aiming that far down, so I could have just delayed that and it would have come out on the first possible frame anyway.
Yeah. Another thing I wonder is if you had done the faster shot, would it have been possible to pull the bomb before making the shot? Or like before, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. Definitely a possibility. Because I did have some spare time here.
Yeah. It's hard to say. If it would have made that difference, it would have been just barely, I think.
Yeah. I just have to check it. Oh yeah, here. So like I've been saying, side hop speed decreases the longer you're in the air, and that includes bouncing on water. So as I'm bouncing on the water, the side hop speed is still decreasing. And so I was thinking right here, my side hop barely made it over this ledge. I was thinking maybe I should stop the side hop here just so I could start a new one. But I checked it and it ended up being slower that way, so I kept it this way.
Yeah, there's nothing around here I can see that would make useful for that. There's one spot where I made a very subtle adjustment in glitchless because of that. On those smaller flowers going to big octo, I targeted the small octo because
to fall faster.
For some arcane reason you fall faster when you're targeting an enemy, and it kept me from side hopping over the edge of the flower.
Yeah, that's smart. I don't know if I thought... So I definitely... I knew about that mechanic, and in fact I used it for Gyorg. I don't know if I thought about it while I was doing this side hopping, though.
Yeah. I don't think there's really anything to do that on here, though.
Well, there was the... Oh, yeah, not right here.
Right.
Yeah. No, Mal. I started this in probably May of this year. Lots of little things to know about in this game. This whole sequence was kind of awkward. Like, I wanted to pull the bomb as soon as possible. That's the priority when you're getting speed, but like doing that and getting off the flower was just weird. And then I had to leave the bomb here, and I feel like maybe there was a better way to do that, but it wasn't too bad the way it was.
Yeah, I was in a similar spot once, and I did what I think I did it, if I'm remembering correctly, I side hopped out the flower and then did a backwalk and then an angle change backwalk around the tree thing.
Yeah. I think I tried backwalking there. Yeah, I don't remember. It's been a while. I have a terrible memory for this stuff. That's why, so I only finished this task like 2 days ago. I wanted to do the reveal very soon afterwards, so as much as possible was fresh in my memory, but this was still a couple months ago. I've forgotten what exactly I tested. Oh, yeah.
And they're going around that corner.
Oh, this corner?
Yeah.
Oh.
So that would be a good place to go to a Z-slide.
Yeah, so I made a mistake in this task before I even started it, which was I had targeting set to hold. I used hold targeting. For RTA, that's way better. That is just objectively the better option. Let no one tell you otherwise. But for TASing, it is truly objectively the worse option. Because when you have switch targeting on, you can lock onto something and unlock onto it within the same frame with 2 different Z presses. And that lets you Z slide or, just target or retarget or whatever, while there are enemies nearby. You can't do that with hold, no. So there were a few times that it cost me a very small amount of time, like, frames in this TAS. But yeah, that's not a mistake I'll make again. I'm pretty sure this is one place where I actually matched one of my references frame for frame. I don't remember whether it was Mr. Grunz or Fox for this one.
The Hess looked good to me.
Sorry?
The Hess looked pretty good to me.
Oh, thanks. One cool little mechanic here is that you'll notice that the bomb, this second bomb that I'm using for a recoil, the fuse stopped while I was talking to the witch. If I had left the bomb in Link's hands, then the fuse would have continued. So I could have done that and just, pulled the bomb later so that the timing would have worked out, but I don't think it really makes a difference. And then, after you've interacted with, NPCs or whatever, there's often a short period where you can't do anything with the A button. So I couldn't have, started side hopping or whatever, done my backflip to do this recoil earlier. That's why I do this tiny backwalk here.
Yeah, it's a silly little thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this jump. Cool jump.
Yeah. So I'm curious about something here.
Okay.
Do you happen to have your Y coordinate value for when you grab the ladder?
Not on me.
Okay, because it's really hard to tell just eyeballing it, but I feel like you might have grabbed it a tad low.
Maybe. Well, I grabbed it with his feet on the second rung, which, just eyeballing it, that looked the same as yours, but I guess, can his feet be between rungs?
My thing, I was able to get to Y45 or Y60 for the starting position on grab.
Well, I'll have to check in the TAS, but
yeah. I don't know. I didn't go by the rungs when I was looking at that.
Yeah, I guess I probably shouldn't have either. But yeah, just visually, I think I matched you. I know I did for the Zora backflip to get into the Marine Lab. I think I did for this one too, but not 100% sure.
Yeah, it's, like I said, it's hard to tell just eyeballing it.
Yeah, very true. Oh, and then targeting and untargeting every frame while you're climbing something keeps the camera down. It's just a little thing for fun. Nothing really going on here. This back walk to the door was for a similar reason. Couldn't side hop.
Yep.
Oh yeah, so I didn't notice on the other Hesses before now, but I am rolling against the bomb now.
Yeah. Yeah, you could have, something you could do with that one probably is you can angle the backwalk a little bit so that you roll like more directly into it so you're not like sliding along the side of it a little bit.
Yeah, so I think what happened there was I got my backwalk angle and then realized that I wanted to do a curved backwalk because I was slightly off, and then didn't adjust that. Yeah, I could have gone back and fixed the angle so I didn't have to do a curved backwalk, so I could have rolled straight into the bomb. But I didn't, I guess.
Yeah, it's a small thing.
Yeah, it's one of those things that might not even save a frame, but I probably should have done it. That one was cleaner.
Yeah, that one was nice.
Oh yeah, targeting was awful here. The Wolfos were just so targetable.
And I'm going to ask you another question you might not have the answer to here.
Okay.
But up here, you turn and start a new backwalk.
Oh, yeah.
When you were doing that, did you hold against your movement as soon as you let go of Z, or did you wait a moment?
I think I did it as soon as I let go. Is that slower?
Yeah, so if you do it as soon as you let go, your speed progression is from 8.25 to 0.25 to 0.
Uh-huh.
But if you let it go, then you go from 8.25 to 6.75 to 0.
Ah, okay. Yeah, okay. I don't think I ever did that. That's good to know. Because I did mess around with how to stop moving, but I think when I saw the 6.75, I thought, oh, he's slowing down slower. I shouldn't do that. But I didn't consider how to get it to 0 on the next frame.
Yeah, because you can slow down by 8 per frame.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so this is a section I did entirely with controller, just randomly slashing until I got blue rupees and bombs. And it would have been faster if I had gotten one more bomb drop here, but I couldn't make it work and still have Takuri come down really fast, so I just got another one later.
Yeah, and this, by the same token, there's not something... I'm not sure if this would work or not, but... and also it'd be terrible to try and do, but possibly spin attacking the bushes would be good there.
Oh god. So I'd have to get all 3 or 4 of them to be the right...
Yeah.
Ugh.
The reason being that if you slash your sword normally against any actor, then it creates like a single frame of hit stun.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I didn't think about that. But spin attacking doesn't have hit stop? Okay. Yeah, okay, I didn't know that. That's a very good point.
I'm not sure if you still would have been able to get the things you need like that, and if you could, it'd be awful.
Yeah, in theory I could, but, just get lucky.
Right.
Yeah. This has... I think... I would have converted that to a Z slide earlier if I had switch targeting on, but I didn't.
Yeah, I'm also curious about this recoil timing.
Well, it was the best option I could come up with, but maybe I neglected to consider something.
Yeah, I feel like if maybe you could have pulled the bomb a little earlier to get the first frame recoil so you spend less time at the backflip speed.
Oh, yeah. Why? That's a good point. Why did I do it this way? I think that was just an oversight. Well, I guess all of these are oversights, but like, I think if I had thought about that a little bit harder at the time, that's what I would have done.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and for people wondering about the sword hit stun thing, what you should probably do is you should go and slash a Deku flower a few times, and you'll be able to really see it.
Slash a Deku flower, okay. Oh, okay, unrelated to that, something that I meant to mention at the very beginning of this task, or reveal, but I don't think I did, is that the beginning of this task, so like up to this point, basically, I had to splice together a bunch of different sections of video that I exported separately, because I had a bunch of desyncs, which is where the playback gets desynced from the inputs. So the inputs are happening on the wrong frames, and it turns into a mess. And I solved the problem, so I didn't have any more desyncs after this, and the rest of it was just one continuous playback. The problem, by the way, was, well, it was one of two things, because I figured out two things at once that could very likely have had to do with it. Because the problem was I was desyncing on pauses anytime I pulled up the pause menu. And I started manually advancing a single input frame at a time through the entirety of the unpause lag every single time, and that helped. It never happened again after that. But then also around the same time, I realized that I had accidentally been using, or not using, but I had left Dolphin Free Look on, which is being able to look around the world with the just Dolphin's camera. It's kind of hard to describe what that is, but you'll notice if you look very carefully that my pauses up to this point in the run The menu is a little bit askew. It's not actually straight, and that's why.
Interesting.
I accidentally had that on, so I think that may have contributed as well. But around this time in the TAS, I solved both of those things, and I never had another desync. And the reason that I'm mentioning this is that if you look at the bomber kid right now, this is a splice. This is the only obvious splice in here. And I don't, like, I'm not trying to hide that there are splices in here. It's just, that was part of the process for me. But I did try to kind of cover them up with video editing as best I could, just because, it's a little distracting. Yeah, I had to call in help to make sure I wasn't seeing things.
I like to use the recoil for the mega flip, or for recoil flip there instead of backflip to land sooner.
Yeah, using the side hop. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if there's much to say here. Like I was saying during the main bit of the reveal, there's just a frame where you can transform there before you get the sword, and it's just magical how that works. And then
there's
here...
something...
Sorry?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to explain what was happening there. I sold the red potion, but then I paused on that frame and equipped the Deku Nuts where the red potion was, so my Deku Nuts got replaced with a bottle instead of the red potion, and then I had a spare bottle.
I was going to say, there's something weird with quick text boxes when it's only one text box of text.
Mm-hmm. Where if you press B, it delays it?
Yeah, but also this particular thing doesn't apply to Japanese, so your text boxes are all fine.
Oh, okay.
But on English, when you get one of those text boxes, what it's best to do is to press A to make all of the text appear, and then release A for an input frame and press A again.
Oh.
And that'll clear the text one frame faster than clearing it with B and then A.
That is so interesting.
But on Japanese, for some reason, it just doesn't work that way.
I had no idea. That's really cool. Though I did notice that that same thing where you press A for one input frame, release for one input, press for the next input, also applies even on Japanese for soaring. On the Song of Soaring menu.
Yeah.
That's the fastest way.
Yep.
Oh, and then I'm also selling the red potion here just to free up the bottle and get rupees, which I need for buying milk later. Okay, so this section, I had to spend a little while trying to figure out the logistics of it, because I need to get action swap, have a bomb already out, and then go hit the owl statue. And what I thought was going to be the case was that I just wanted to get there as soon as possible so I could hit it, but what actually ended up being the limiting factor was the length of the Deku stick.
Yep.
Because the way this glitch works is you light the Deku stick, and then it starts off at, I think it's normal Deku stick length, but inverted, and then it just gets longer every frame. And in a RTA setting, it's basically never relevant. It's always long enough, because you just take a while to get there. But in a TAS setting, I got here so quickly on some of my attempts that I just had to wait on the Deku stick. So that kind of informed the way I made the decisions of how to do this room.
Yeah, I used Deku Spear to hit this in the rando TAS, as you'll recall, and I ran into the same problem.
Uh-huh. It takes so long when you're going so fast.
Yeah.
And then, like I said before, I had to keep the owl on screen through its animation so that it would actually count as being hit. But I realized after doing this that I really should have done this movement a little differently. So what I did was I just kind of delayed pulling the bomb, or I guess I didn't delay pulling the bomb. I delayed starting to backwalk. Or you know what? Actually, sorry, I take that back. I thought I had delayed pulling the bomb. Well, never mind. I was thinking maybe I could have started a Hess or something against the wall on the right and then just continued it as soon as I could to get the animation to work. But maybe not.
I do think still potentially it would have been possible to pull a bomb earlier, since to hit the owl, you did a normal Deku Stick swing, which puts Link into that, reeling back animation.
Oh.
I'm not sure if the circumstances would have worked with the length of your spear. or not, but crouch stab would not put you into that same animation.
Right. So I know I did mess around with crouch stabs, but I don't remember if I tried them for that purpose. I think I was just trying to see if they got some extra length. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, then just recoil past this guy. I could have done a Hess or whatever, but that would have involved rolling and taking time, not moving backwards. This Hess I felt pretty comfy with. It's just Hessing around. Though at the end of it, I maybe should have converted to a Z-slide after clipping through the fence. Like right here, so I don't have to do this big curve. Though, speaking of that, I did actually do the thing where you hold a full direction out of a Hess right here. I don't know if it's really visible.
Oh, I see it a little bit there.
Yeah, it's leading into this side hop. There? Maybe it's that frame? It's kind of hard to tell. It wasn't a huge angle adjustment, but it did save time on these. This is kind of just looking at the guy.
And what a guy he is.
Super guy. This movement was like kind of awkward, but I tried to jump as soon as I possibly could while still being able to curve to the door. And like I did try some side hop and back hop ideas, or back walk ideas, and nothing really worked.
I'd be curious to compare that frame by frame against what I did in Rando, because that actually looked pretty fast.
Yeah, I don't think I did check against you, so I should have done that. But yeah, I feel like this wasn't too bad, if it was bad at all.
Yeah, it looked pretty good, I think.
Oh, I'm glad. So yeah, I set my map cursor to what? To Woodfall? Wherever it makes you go to, Sword Mountain Village. Is it Deku Palace?
Yeah, that'd be Woodfall.
Woodfall, yeah.
Or is it?
It's one of those.
It's Woodfall area, yeah.
Yeah. And then this area and the next one, excuse me, I was referencing Fox's TAS very explicitly, but I had to change things up a little bit since I don't have a sword to break this snowball. I had to roll into it.
Oh, yeah.
And then this, I was really proud of how this room went. I think I ended up matching Fox to the frame.
Yeah. Good job there going around the inside of that post.
Yep, thank you. So again, that was just to get the map point there. And this, yeah, I was saying before that I had just enough time to make it to the load zone without waiting for any of his Mikau's cycle. I mean, like, I was struggling to get there, and then I got there with 0 frames to spare. I wouldn't be too surprised if, like, if you or someone more experienced could have had another frame or 2 to spare. But, yeah, I had 0. Also, it looks like I'm just kind of doing this RTA because I am. I checked, and it doesn't actually matter if you're pushing him perfectly. If he's getting pushed the same amount regardless of which direction Link is facing.
Yeah, I remember researching that.
Yeah, I had to get off him as soon as possible. And yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, the way this works is his cutscene of walking up the beach starts as soon as he touches land. So what I did was I pushed him... the other thing you need to know is that he's bobbing up and down on the water on a cycle that started when I loaded the area. So I pushed him as close enough to the shore that he would eventually touch the ground as part of his bobbing cycle, but only that amount, no frames beyond that, because he would have touched the ground sooner because of the slope if I had pushed farther. And then as soon as that, I finished pushing him, I swam and got out of the water to stand up as soon as I possibly could, and then started a slide so I didn't have to wait out a bomb timer. And with the perfect direction, you can see Like he hits the load zone, and then on the very next frame, the cutscene starts.
So I want to say something about forward A slides there.
Uh huh.
So largely, unless you have like a specific reason to be facing forward, what you generally want to do is turn around and do a Z slide instead. Since when you do it this way, you still get like the little bit of pushback from the explosion before you go forward.
Okay, yeah. So I couldn't have done that because I had hold targeting on.
I was was just thinking about that, but
yeah, there's so many little things that I couldn't do because of that. And I did, like originally I was going to do Z slide just because it's easier to automate. Like I could just use turbo on the target button. I didn't think about the differences in speed. That initial like frame. And then again, my chew usage is weird here. Normally I wouldn't use a chew here, but I already had them equipped. And that was really what informed most of my chew use decisions. It's just whether they were already equipped or not.
That was a correct chew usage.
Thank you. It's like you can still speed that up with a bomb. You just do a recoil flip at the end.
And I imagine for like the same reason you couldn't Z slide there.
Yes. Yes, levers.
Remember, kids, leave it on switch targeting.
Yep, I learned my lesson. All right, I was a little curious about what you might have done here. I should have checked for more references, but I had to do this whole big arc to start my Hess. Like, there was another lever over this direction to the right, but it was farther away. It would have been slower. I did check it.
I feel like this is something where I would have to actually TAS it to give you a good answer.
Yeah, that makes sense. And converting this to the super swim was fun. One cool thing that I didn't know about super swims before I tasked this is that so the way super swims work is that you're just making it so Link never enters his neutral floating animation, because that's when he loses his speed. If you just keep changing his animation, either by changing the direction you're holding, or by tapping and releasing target, or by starting to float or sink, pressing A or B, then he never actually loses his speed that he entered the water with, which was 18 in this case from the Z slide. But one thing I didn't know is that the different forms of super swimming, so pressing A or B, targeting, changing the control stick, actually have different properties. And so here, because I was doing the one where you change control stick direction, he got very, very close to the ground, but never would land. Whereas he would have if I had been floating and sinking. So that was convenient.
If you've ever seen the thing in OT where they like swim along the floor of the, like, I guess, sea or underwater area with the iron boots, it's the same principle.
Swim? No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so in OT, if you are swimming while holding target and then equip iron boots, you can continue swimming.
Oh, that,
while you have the iron boots equipped.
Yeah, okay. I see the resemblance now.
Yeah, that's the same thing as that.
That's cool. I did not make that connection. Yeah, something weird here about keeping things loaded made turning around here fast. But one other thing, there's a way to skip this cutscene, but it was definitely slow for me to do because I needed to wait on the boat cycle, and skipping it involves voiding out while hitting the cutscene trigger, which would have restarted the boat cycle. So I would have just had to wait that time again.
Yeah. I don't know off the top of my head how these boats line up. Is that boat the first boat that passes by that area?
Yes.
The one that you get on?
So there are those 4 boats in a line and then a big gap. When you first load the area, the final boat in the line is basically right where I need to be for the trick. So yeah, there's no way to use that. And the boats continue moving with time stop, I checked.
Yeah, because the thing I was like, could you make an earlier boat cycle, but I also don't know if there is an earlier boat cycle to make.
No. As far as I can tell, and I'm reasonably sure of this, there is not.
Alright.
And I got this pop-up just for fun. I had to wait. So RTA, we would normally... How is this going to be visible? We'd stand on this little back platform here, and that makes it really easy to slash and fall off so you can get the dive. But I did it here because I needed to be over the vent, and I was moving towards the vent, so I wanted to be as close to the front of the boat as possible without getting caught. And it was really precise here. It was really annoying to get this. But I did eventually. And then another little...
on that same token as getting that slash dive, I'm sure you're familiar with people doing the diagonal slash to get ocarina dives as human.
Yeah.
It is possible to get an ocarina dive with any type of slash, provided your spacing is correct.
Yes, and I was trying all kinds of slashes as I was doing that. There was so much. that took me quite a while. And I actually retasked this section, because originally I had done the whole, that mountain village trip later. Like I was planning to do it after Great Bay Temple. But then I realized for in-game time purposes, it would be really good if that were earlier, and then it also ended up saving a pause. So I decided to redo this and getting Zora Mask. And I ended up getting a faster one, so that worked out. Here's another use of, Z-sliding so I don't lose speed back walking up the slope. And then here is where I do that spin out of the Z-slide, that super high speed spin.
Yep.
Here's also where I use the Z-slide to make this sharp turn around the corner. I think I stole this from Fox's TAS. I mean, yeah, stole the idea.
That's like a really good demonstration of the use case for that.
Yeah. Make that really sharp turn. And yeah, I took this from, this idea from your glitchless TAS. It wasn't exactly the same because you started as Goron in this room, but, right. Same idea. Very precise shot from here. And then again, side hopping so I can climb the barrel during the cutscene. I kind of wanted to bonk the barrel before the cutscene, but I was 1 frame short of getting there. I tested it by pausing to delay the cutscene by 1 frame. Yeah, it was only 1 frame away. That would have been cool, but yeah, this will be on YouTube. Yeah, I admit I lost like 3 frames just getting around this corner compared to you. I have no idea why.
Walking around corners is so bad.
It's so difficult. And so I was curious about this because I noticed there was some kind of sword or shield sound in your TAS as you rounded this corner, and I was wondering if you somehow used the sword or the shield. Do you remember?
No, it just was for fun.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have no idea how I lost those frames, but I could not figure it out.
Yeah, so my process, I'll go over my process for getting around those corners, actually. So, what I do initially is I will find an angle to turn, and then hold against that so that I'm turning around the corner on the first frame, and find the best angle I can get for that. And then I'll find the best angle I can get for walking for a frame before turning, and then for walking 2 frames before turning, and then walking 3 frames before turning.
That's smart, yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to go about it. Yeah, that's the same thing as the twisted backflip. I did an ESS twist to maintain Link's angle after the jump. And then on the corner I did the pop-up, I didn't really explain this while we were watching the whole thing. This is a trick called Ocarina Items. So I just do a short ESS shuffle, then try to use a bottle and then a cutscene item. And for whatever reason, that makes Link pull out the ocarina even underwater. So that's nice. And then another ESS shuffle to grab this ladder. I don't think I have anything to add here to what we said before. Except, I mean, this is the most painful section to watch pause-wise, because I still didn't know at this point that, that I was losing a frame of every pause. So, this frame, that frame should not exist. Take it out. But yeah, I think we explained this adequately before.
Yeah. I did go through it, and I did see you were moving the cursor on that frame before you could unpause, so I'll give you credit for that.
Yeah, see, I knew about that. Yeah. Just, I think I've got it all figured out. So this, I felt like I might be able to get a faster super swim some other way, but I couldn't figure out a way. 'Cause like if you do a big dive and then bonk, you can get a really high speed super swim, but I couldn't figure out a way to do that on like this column here. So
yeah, I'm not sure that you would be able to.
Yeah, unfortunate. So this super swim I think was like 13.95 speed.
Yeah, that's the best jump slash super swim you're gonna get.
Yeah. This one, though, was good speed. It was like 17.85 by the time I hit the water. Oh yeah, and we can slow-mo this extra cool pop-up. So I had to slow down a little bit because he can only grab a ledge if he's swimming forwards.
Right.
But yeah, I just swim, turn in one frame, and then I'm in exactly the right place where it'll pop up and stay up.
That's so good.
Yeah, I was really happy I found that. Because I was struggling so hard with the turning and swimming with A. Like, I was finding that really hard to optimize. So I just came up with something
really hard
better.
to optimize.
Yeah. And then this is just... We already explained that. This is where I turned left for these side hops, because turning right made the camera super laggy. I think back walking lost one frame. Oh yeah, this is
interesting.
Go ahead.
I don't think BizHawk really lags that much in that room.
I felt like this really might have been laggier than console.
Yeah,
it's hard to tell, but this is somewhere another place where I lost a tiny amount of time to not having switch targeting. Because if I had tried to do first-person camera delay here, or no, sorry, it's not here. It's on. It's when I'm actually getting on the turtle. If I had tried to do first-person camera delay, then I would have targeted the turtle. Oh yeah, this was awkward. I couldn't figure out any better spacing for this, but I really shortened this last side hop to make him not hit the load zone.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one what it would do. So you mentioned here about targeting the turtle.
Yes.
So if you target the turtle, even with switch targeting, it will not trigger first-person camera delay. It has to do like the lock thing when you like turn the camera and the bars come onto the screen.
Oh. So wait. I guess what I did is probably the same. Like, it looked different. I don't remember whether I checked frame by frame, though, if I lost any frames there.
That being said, I did feel like testing something here.
Okay.
So what I did is I turned the smallest amount of distance left that I could without targeting him and pressed Z for first-person camera delay, and then walked to him and shot the hook shot, and that was 2 frames faster.
Oh, okay. So wait, you, like, sidewalked to him?
Just normal walked.
Oh. Wow, okay. Yeah, that's good to know. I had only really thought about first-person camera delay from side hops or backflips, from the air.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's a good thing to think about. Yep, just walk there. Yeah. Oh, so I think this is the first thing I did that was literally frame by frame. I just did the exact same thing as another task, which makes sense because I have exactly the same amount of time on the bomb timer. Yeah, Fox's TAS did exactly this.
Yeah, I don't know what else you would do here, to be honest.
Yeah, but it's really cool that this works on one bomb, and so you can't actually see what's going on here. But what's happening is I did an ESS twist before rolling, so that Link will actually get a recoil jump off of the edge of this out of bounds platform, and then I think on the first possible frame the bomb explodes, and then because he's twisted, he gets launched back at an angle, and that's directly towards the boss load zone. Pretty sick frame, wasn't it? Oh yeah, I wanted to shout this out because I was talking before about how I was trying hard to find the best way to advance in-game time. One of the ways that I tried was to do this weird shot and then do an ocarina dive down to Georg, so I could start playing the song midair. And I liked that idea, but it ended up being kind of slow. It really didn't save very much time over just playing it on the ground. But yeah, I kept that bomb as close to the edge as possible so that I could just kind of hug the wall here and get hit as low down as possible. Because I was losing, 0.05 speed on every frame after the recoil, and I wanted to enter the water with as much speed as possible.
Yeah, something I'm curious about is if jump / recoil near the bottom would be good, since when you are going into a wall while falling with high negative speed, it can somewhat impact your fall speed.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Visibly impact, it doesn't impact the value of the fall speed memory address, but you just go down a little less on each frame.
You're not talking about anti-grav, right?
No, it's different.
Okay.
Because anti-grav actually resets the fall speed to 0.
Right, yeah. And I did watch out for that. I did a little bit of weird movement here to avoid that. But yeah, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, a place, if you want to see the effect pretty clearly, is you can Goron missile against a wall, and you'll see he just kind of sticks to it.
Yeah, I can picture that. Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's a good point. And then here, I tried a bunch of different things. What ended up being the fastest, because I'm on JP, I can't use the Zora barrier unless I've been swimming for 2 seconds. And to do that, I would have had to turn around and make a big circle or super swim well past Georg. What ended up being the fastest was just to sink all the way to the bottom so I could use the barrier while standing and then swim from there.
That makes sense.
And then this little jump, bonk and jump slash here was fast because I had to get fins out anyway, so it skipped the slash. And then here's what you were talking about earlier. I locked onto Georg, so Deku Link would bounce faster. I need to watch that. Oh, remember I was mentioning earlier how you can't press A after NPC interactions. You can't target or use items right after boss cutscenes. So the reason that I'm spinning here instead of side hopping is just that targeting was impossible for, I don't remember how many frames, but enough. And then since I was already spinning, it ended up making sense to just keep spinning.
Yeah.
So that's that. Nice
I find it
cutscene. Go ahead.
I find it interesting that Georg's remains is the remains that is active to be able to grab it earlier than any other one, when if you fight the boss normally it would take you longer to get there than any other remains.
Yeah, it's ironic and unfortunate. Because all the other ones I had to wait a little bit of time on. Alright, so... Oh, one cool little optimization here. I was soaring somewhere, so I had to move the map cursor to a certain spot, and I was also equip swapping Ocarina so that I could continue using it even after duping over that slot with milk. Excuse me. And to do both of those at the same time, I did my equip swap across moving the cursor on the map screen, which normally you don't see RTA. Like, there's nothing that's not RTA viable about it, it's just people tend to do those separately. So I think I explained this here during the first part. It was kind of fun trying to figure out how to play the song while side hopping without interrupting it.
Yeah, that's not necessarily a trivial thing to do, play a song during movement.
Yeah, but conveniently, I was playing Song of Double Time, so it started with 2 A presses, so I just did 2 side hops and then did the rest of the inputs.
Yep.
And yeah, the sign just brought up the text sooner. Let's see, nothing really to say here. Yeah, Snowhead Hess. This was definitely the thing that took me the longest.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to do this.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a really good learning experience. I would kind of prefer not to have to do it again. I was using Fox's TAS as a comparison because he was also on JP, so he had to restart the Hess every time he got stuck on a wall. The thing was, I couldn't actually match it because with ISG, you can at least start rolling before the wind ends. But without ISG, I had to wait until the wind was completely done to start my roll. So each Hess can't go quite as far. I think in total I ended up taking 2 extra wind cycles compared to Fox. But I don't know that I could have done it better, honestly.
Maybe.
And then every time I'm stuck against the wall swinging, or stuck against the edge swinging, I am manipulating RNG with random control stick values so that the next wind cycle is as long as possible, so I can get as far as possible. That was the part that took the longest, was that RNG manip.
Yeah, I had a tool when I was working on Glitchless that allowed me to actually... a Lua script that allowed me to see how long the wind had been going and how long it had been between winds. I gotta thank Kita for writing that script.
Yeah, that would be really useful. Next time I'm doing this, if there is a next time, I am going to ask for that.
Yeah. I don't know how the compatibility between scripts on BizHawk work with scripts on Dolphin.
Yeah, I'll have to look into it. It's something, like learning about Dolphin scripts is something I should have figured out. I just haven't bothered. So I think... Oh yeah, I mentioned this next Hess. I couldn't quite get far enough around the corner that I stayed here, so I had to balance against this snowball, which I was convinced for a minute was not possible, but I got it somehow. I was very happy that worked, because he did not want to stay on that snowball. And then here, this is something that I discovered, as far as I know, this wasn't known, because I actually posted about it in the Discord server, and Gigo and Samp didn't seem to know about it. If you are in an ESS shuffle and you press a cutscene item, any cutscene item, then you're invincible for a single frame. You cannot get hit. So...
Really?
Yes. So I mentioned before that I just went straight through this snowball. That's how I did it.
Interesting.
I did actually go through the snowball, and you can see the stick disappears when I press Ocarina. That's how that works. And that only works... like you can't do this at normal Hess speed through a snowball because you're in the snowball for multiple frames. This only worked because I was at Hess speed and getting pushed by the wind. And it was just miraculous because I got here and thought, oh no, now I have to manip like a smaller snowball or whatever. And I was just messing around with stuff, and he went through the snowball. It was a miracle.
That's neat.
Yeah, so it's just one of those very happy situations where you discover exactly what you need in exactly the circumstance you need it in. Oh, and I mentioned before that I was manipulating all of the excuse me, all of the wind cycles to be as long as possible so I could get as far as possible. I actually manipulated this one to be as short as possible because I was only side hopping during it. It didn't make sense to pull a bomb after the wind had already finished, so I wanted that to go as fast as possible so I could start this Hess as soon as possible.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, the time between winds can be any frame inclusive between like 34 and 52 frames.
I believe you. I had a reference number in my head, but I didn't.
I feel like that's what it was.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it. Oh yeah, so this clip is not very precise, but then there's some tattle text here that automatically plays if you touch the ground. I mentioned before I was able to avoid that just by keeping Link active, switching between the stick and then the hook shot after the pause. That's an old thing. And then one very cool use of an A-slide here I got from Fox's TAS, that you can just A-slide kind of underneath this ice. And if you're not holding shield, then you crash.
Yeah, ice is not very meaningful to a TAS.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, doesn't RTA get
action swap off of the tattle text? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I could have done that, it just would have been slower.
Right.
And that shot was picky. Yeah, so the way this works, quick primer on remote hookshot. So I pulled out the hookshot and then drank milk while I was aiming and targeting, and that leaves the hookshot there. It's invisible, but it's still out, and it will still fire the next time I pull the hookshot. And then, so basically the next time I pull the hookshot, I've got two active hookshots. One of them is aiming towards the wall, where I just aimed it, and one will be aiming at the top of the torch. And if the one that's aimed at the wall hits the wall and gets canceled right as I'm getting pulled by the other one that's at the torch, then I get a huge hookshot jump, and that's how I made it to the top. Yeah, NMG just bans stale reference manipulation, arbitrary code execution, and debug menu. It's a terrible name, but that's what it is. And I just pull the bomb.
No super major glitches.
Yeah, right. So I pull the bomb as soon as possible there. Very quick boss key skip. And then yeah, this was just messing around waiting for the tattle text to come up because it takes 30 seconds.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do to speed this up.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. There's no other way to get tattle text here. And then action swap using the tattle text to light goat. Honestly, I only thought about this afterwards, but I kind of wonder how getting Fire Arrow would have compared, because I could have killed the Wizro pretty quickly with Deku Sword. And
I don't know.
What?
I don't know.
Yeah, I honestly should have timed it, but I didn't. It also, Fire Arrow might have made Twin Mold faster, but it was also pretty fast the way I did it. Yeah, it's just an alternate category. It uses very different strats from normal any percent NMG.
I don't know that with Weird Shot Fire Arrow would have been better for Twin Mold unless you also had Ice Arrow.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. So one thing, actually, Yumius, I wanted to tell you about this because it seemed like you didn't know this when you made the glitchless task at least, but the cutscene of Goat dying is variable length, depending on...
Yeah, I did know that.
Oh, okay. So, well, I saved time over your cutscene, just by getting Goat...
You did?
Yeah, by getting Goat to run sooner so that it was closer to its end point when the cutscene began. And then also, like I mentioned before, there's RNG, I think, in the cutscene.
Oh, yeah.
So I did some manip too.
Okay, so I didn't know about it being related to his movement at all. I did know that there was RNG attached to it.
Okay. Yeah, so as far as I can tell, Goat's position at the beginning of the cutscene is just whatever it was when the cutscene started. He doesn't get teleported.
Yeah, I ran through that cutscene to look for faster RNG several thousand times.
Yeah, I bet. I don't think I did it thousands, but I wasn't doing it with a script, but I did it probably hundreds. Yeah, some of these strats are in any percent NMG. Like the big hookshot jump I just did, that's the same in any percent NMG. Really, this entire dungeon, any percent NMG, doesn't use ISG. So yeah, I just activated GOAT slightly sooner than you did, so that you started running sooner.
Interesting.
The underground twin mold hitboxes thing, yeah, that would be optimal for NMG, but, I mean, you can't do that RTA, really. No, well, I guess I didn't check. It might be JP only, but I have no reason to think that it is.
I wouldn't imagine so, but I've been surprised before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think we, well, adequately enough explained this in the main playthrough. I skipped the cutscene, is what I did there. And then, yeah, same thing here as leaving Woodfall. I think it was faster to... Oh no, backflip tied side hop there. Because backflip also doesn't have an acceleration period like backwalking does. Oh, okay, Mel. So, yeah, it's probably the same. Alright, finishing Woodfall. This is the same movement as the first trip. This room, I matched you in this room from the glitchless TAS. This was tough, getting this shot.
You matched it with different movement.
I did. Yeah, you backwalked as Deku, and I side hopped as human, and they matched exactly to the frame.
Interesting. Alright, cool. And yeah, that's a very tough shot.
Yeah. This shot looks like precise. The other shot was way more precise. Because the thing is, like, you can hookshot to this torch. Like, that part isn't that precise. What's precise is hookshotting to this side of this torch, landing on the back. That was the tough part.
And also being close to the ground so you don't just fall for a moment.
Yeah, exactly. That took some doing, but I was glad that I got it.
Yeah, comparatively, this one's a little baby shot.
Yes, this one is easy. I also want to point out, I did a Deku stick jump slash here because I don't have a sword. You can't do a jump slash cancel with a Deku stick, so no jump slash cancel there.
Yep. I don't know why, but yeah, you can't.
Yeah. Oh, I have a dirty little secret from this movement. I could not get side hops to make it all the way to the door. So while I was behind this pillar, I walked for 2 frames. Just wanted to hide it. Oh, this was...
I respect it.
This bomb chew use, I did have to equip bomb chews for specifically, but as far as I can tell, there's no way down here as human without bomb chews. Like, in the glitchless TAS, you transform to Deku.
Yeah, this platform is at an awkward spacing.
Yeah, it's just really annoying. But that ended up working really well, and I ended up landing really close to the torch. So that was nice. You'll never see this boss key skip done this fast RTA, because if I clip through the door, like, you know, any farther to the right than I did, the game would have crashed.
We crashed?
Yep. Hook slides crash in out-of-bounds water sometimes. It's weird. Not all the time.
And you know there's a question I gotta ask you about that hook shot to the torch up by the boss door.
Okay.
Suppose there was a dragonfly to your right. Could that have given you the angle that you want?
Oh, that's so smart. I'm so glad that I didn't think of that, because trying to manip that would have been hell. That would have been so bad.
Yeah, I did that for the side hops to the door in glitchless, and it was not fun. Especially since, like, the camera varies very slightly going through a door depending on RNG, so I had to redo the entire dungeon manually each time.
Oh my god. Yeah, well, that is a really smart thing, and I'm so glad I didn't think of it. Actually, you know, I think it might not have mattered anyway, because I needed to pull out... Or no, it would have, because I had hookshot in hand. Yeah, never mind. It did matter. Yeah.
Well, barely.
Yeah, it might have saved 1 frame. So yeah, damaging down. I pulled out the sword there before the fight. And then, again, here I couldn't target for the first however many frames, so I just spun. And then quick fight. You know what? Watching this back, I think I missed the jump slash cancel here. That looked super long.
What I think that was, I think that might have partially been missing the jump slash cancel, but also you hit the flower.
Oh, yeah! Good callback. Yeah, I guess maybe I got some hit stop off the flower. That's a good point. Yeah,
it's also very weird to see this fight done in the TAS not using the bomb plant strats.
Yeah. Yeah. Needed a Deku Sword.
Deku Sword is definitely going to be better in this case, but it's weird.
Yeah, and then taking damage during it too. I tried a bunch of different ways to damage down here, and this was the best I got. Like, I tried a bomb triangle, and no, this was... I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was kind of by far the best. So that's that. And then I was really happy with this movement. I remember actually going around this way instead of the same way that I went at the beginning. Saved 12 frames, just because I was going to a different place, going to the chest.
Yeah.
I know I was kind of hand-wavy about how get item manipulation worked while we watched it. I'm going to stay hand-wavy about it, because there are some details I don't know, but basically what happens is when Link is near a chest, it gives him a get item value or ID or something that kind of preempts what's in the chest. It kind of tells the game what it's expecting to give Link soon, I guess. I don't really know why it is that way, but it is. And if you open a chest in a way like this that doesn't involve like starting the cutscene, then that number never gets... it's like, I think it starts as a negative number and it turns into a positive number when you open the chest, or maybe it's the reverse of that, but it never gets swapped. And so you're basically indexing out of bounds to get like into some junk data to choose what item you get. And it ends up very conveniently being able to give you Ocarina and Light Arrow. Something... Go ahead.
Any of the fine details of how it works that you don't know, I assure you, I don't know either.
Also, totally unrelated to that, this was kind of a bigger mistake, I guess. This pause was extra. I shouldn't have done. I should have done this pause in the next area when I was setting my map cursor. I just completely missed that. But yeah, whoops. Oh, by the way, by now my pauses are correct. I'm not wasting frames on them.
There's just more of them.
There's just more of, yeah, too many of them. So yeah, I got a nice pop up here. And then here is the pair to that extra pause. I could have done those two in one pause. That was stupid. That's that. Okay, this strat. So what's going on here is I activate this block and I pull a bomb. And then I use a recoil flip, to activate this other block really soon after I deactivate the other switch. And what that does is it makes the second switch's block move during the first switch's block's cutscene. And the important thing about that is that the first switch's cutscene is shorter. So while the second block is moving, I have some time where I can move around, basically, is how that works. So I can then use another bomb from there to get onto this block before the switch deactivates. And it's a really cool strat. Fox came up with that. Fox also came up with another strat that I don't know if it's faster, but I only saw it after I got to this part in the run, because as far as I know, it only exists publicly as a single post in a not commonly used Discord server that links to an unlisted video on YouTube from 10 years ago. So Yumius didn't even know about it. I told him about it today. We need to get some strats out there. Good to make things public. But yeah, so I don't know if that would have been faster but this was pretty fast at least. And like I said before, I optimized it a bit because this is something that I discovered a while back. If you target on certain frames while facing certain directions right before you stand on these switches, then it can really abbreviate the cutscenes. You gain control much faster afterwards because the camera acts differently. So the most obvious example, I did this every time I stepped on a switch, but the most obvious example is right here. The camera kind of pans back and then suddenly I have control. It doesn't pan all the way back to Link. So that just gave me a bunch of extra time between the cutscenes, and that's how I was able to get all the way to the edge of the block. Now, unfortunately, I did try dropping off of the block like late, so it would push me all the rest of the way, and I wouldn't fall. But it was moving so fast that if I dropped, Link would pop up onto it. So that didn't end up saving time.
I didn't see you climb. Is that how you got up there instead of climbing it?
No, it just popped me up automatically in the end.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I don't know why, but here you go. He's holding on, and then he kind of like sinks into the platform a little bit and rises through it.
What the heck?
It's bizarre. I have no idea how that works. So yeah, I had bombs equipped already. This is a place where a chew would have saved a little time, but it just wasn't worth it for equips. Then, yes, I'm very far from the block, but it still works. This, I wasn't totally convinced I did this optimally, but I used the real chew as best I could. So this is get item manipulation again. And then stopping my momentum was kind of awkward. Because, like, once I hit the water, I lost control of Link, because this kind of cutscene started. So if I had any speed at all entering the water, he would have just slid all the way to the wall. Oh, okay, I always assumed it was the big quiver. Thanks, Mal. Oh yeah, this looks really awkward because I just kind of A-slide at this weird angle. I did try converting to a Z-slide, but it didn't end up saving any frames, so I just kept it as it was.
Yeah, converting to Z-slide from forward A-slide is a little ugly.
Yeah, the camera panned in a weird way, but yeah, I couldn't save time with it. And then this is very quick bow extension during the side hop. You just kind of target at the right time while holding forwards, basically, to shoot straight through the wall. This movement I stole from Mr. Grunz's old TAS. It saved, I think it was 0.8 seconds. Yeah, that's correct. Over just rolling. And then this, okay, this is something, well, oh, sorry, not this. This is just storing Song of Double Time. This is something I couldn't figure out. So in Mr. Grunz's TAS, he does the long jump that I'm about to do and jump slashes and makes it up. And I could not for the life of me get that. I tried for quite a while. Ultimately, I got the ledge grab and it only cost 2 frames because I was able to pull the bomb much sooner because I didn't have to go as high on the ramp. But yeah, I couldn't for the life of me get that. Have you done that one before, Yumius?
I have not ever done that one.
Okay, it looked impossible, but evidently it was possible in 2011, so.
Grunz did a lot of things in that test that I was surprised to see in 2011.
I know, that task still holds up. It's so good.
Yeah, if you'll recall in Snowa Temple and the Rando tests, the recoil flips I do between the bridges,
yep.
The throw from the bomb doesn't make it unless Link pushes it with his body during the recoil flip.
Oh my god.
And that was nonsense that Grunz figured out in 2011.
Yeah, yeah. I can't imagine seeing that task in 2011. That must have been so insane.
Yeah. It won Task of the Year.
I bet. Deserved. So for this chest, I tried changing Link's angle so that I could hookshot it, or his angle before the cutscene, so I could hookshot the chest at a more advantageous position, but he turns to face the chest during the cutscene, so it didn't make a difference. And then the way this hook slide works, if you start the hook slide from really close to the chest, to where you're hookshotting to, then Link does hook slide, but at a low speed, and it's not actually enough speed to clip. So I had to jump, and this is the RTA strat too, I had to jump away from it, and then that gave me enough distance from it so that each hook slide pull pulled him far enough to get through the wall. I did try doing it with a side hop and a backflip, and this jumping ended up being the best. Also, normally RTA you would see someone pause and equip over hookshot and then re-equip it here, but you can do a frame perfect bottle input to skip that. And then you'll see that I'm going kind of to the side here, not perfectly parallel with the platform. That's because if I went perfectly parallel, then at the end of the next room, I would actually hit the boss door load zone instead of the direct load zone to twin mold. So that would have been a bit slower. I wanted to avoid that. And then... yeah, you don't have to pause. It's just frame perfect. Yeah, so I'm going to narrate what's going on at all times for this. I wanted to pull the bomb as soon as possible. There was a little delay there before I was able to use items. So I could get the weird shot as soon as they go under. Then I start shooting while I'm waiting for the bomb. I got 3 shots out. I turned around so I could do a targeted roll without locking on, because hold targeting. And then from here, I can just keep shooting, and what happens is right before Twin Mold reappears for the next cycle, it starts appearing just underground, kind of what you would expect, segment by segment of the Twin Mold. And as it becomes visible, its hitboxes, or hurtboxes, whatever, its collision, appears at the same time. But up until its collision reappearing there, it's actually still circling around beneath the arena as though it's, still flying. And then, on the frame, it disappears from circling around, it appears in the next place that it's going to spawn. So at all times, the hitboxes or hurtboxes or whatever are active, and you can just keep shooting them. Now, it was a major pain to try to find them without seeing them, but I did. And so what's going on here is I'm still shooting blue only because, for the first couple of shots, because red was way over here and I needed to turn. But then I start alternating between the two, because if you're just shooting one of them, you kind of have to delay your arrow shots so, to wait out Twin Mold's invincibility. So if I was toggling between the two, I could just fire constantly. So in total, I ended up getting 4 shots on red during this first cycle. And I think if I wanted to really go crazy with the RNG manip, if I had gotten the 2 Twin Molds to spawn right next to each other and right in front of me on the second cycle, maybe I could have kept toggling between them the entire time. I don't know how feasible that is, and it certainly would have taken a lot of RNG manip, so I just left it at this. But maybe in the future someone will get that. And then same thing here, I just started a weird shot as soon as I could. The red Twin Mold at the beginning of Cycle 2, well, the remaining Twin Mold at the beginning of Cycle 2, is still flying around beneath the arena, same as I described it before, so I got 3 shots out on that before switching to the visible Twin Mold. And it's a very quick fight.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was very satisfying to see that played back, and I would love to see it RTA sometime, but it would be pretty tough. So yeah, here I was just limited by how long it took for the Twin Mold's remains to become collectible. It takes a sec. And then I did meticulously check which direction to void out. Which direction was fastest to void out. And I even added it to ZSR. It was exactly this direction. It was angle 24800. you can write that down. And you can actually see I hit a, right here, a corner, a convex corner of the void plane. It's jutting out at me. Alright, so Soaring Clocktown. Yeah, I kind of described this before, but I needed to get on the opposite side of this torch so that I could pull the bottle on the other opposite side of the torch and redirect my hook slide. Because hook sliding from here, there's no way I could have made it up to the upper load zone. Yeah, so what I actually did first-person item delay here. I pulled out the bottle, which looks like a bow for some reason. That's part of how this glitch works. It's very strange. And then remote hookshot at that direction. Okay, get to skip this whole cutscene. Sorry, we will finish soon.
We're not going to talk about the complexities of optimizing that?
We are not. We're not even going to think about it.
Gotcha.
This, well, I guess I didn't A-slide here. This movement to Majora is actually kind of awkward because for some reason it's not a cardinal angle. You spawn at a weird angle, and then if you just go straight, then you miss Majora. So, had to play with that a little bit. That's that. I pulled bow here just so I was ready to shoot. Beginning of phase. And then getting this shot is actually pretty precise. There's kind of a setup to do at RTA, because it still saves time RTA, but of course I didn't do a setup. So that wasn't a Hess facing forward, that's called an A-slide. It's a different form of movement, but it still has the same speed as a Hess. Shot a double wall for fun. That shot was as soon as I could possibly hit Majora. And then yeah, I did a few takes, well, more than a few, several takes, trying to get good RNG for Incarnation. Oh yeah, so we mentioned earlier that damage on Incarnation is weird. The way it works, so you knock Incarnation down, or it decides to fall down on its own. Then you damage it once and it gets up and starts dancing. And at this point you can keep damaging it, but most attacks that you can do will hit once and then its hurt boxes will completely disappear after that, until it starts running away again. There's just no way you can possibly damage it after you've done certain attacks. And that includes every single attack that involves Deku Sword. There's no Deku Sword attack that you can use while it's dancing, excuse me, and to hit it multiple times. So the best way I could find to do this was just to jump slash once to get it dancing, hit it with Deku spins, and then jump slash it again to instantly re-stun it. As far as I know, that's the best it can possibly be with Deku Sword. And unfortunately that is slower than using Deku Stick Power Crouch Stab. It was slower than the glitchless TAS, but I didn't have a sword as human.
Yeah, I'd have to compare that to low percent. I didn't compare that to how we did it there.
Yeah.
I just don't perfectly remember, but yeah, Incarnation gets pretty aggressively damage capped by most types of attacks.
Yeah, I didn't know until you mentioned it today that the low percent TAS had Deku Sword. I don't think I've ever seen that, so I need to go back and watch that.
Yeah.
I didn't use that as a reference, unfortunately. And then Wrath.
There's some places where that's okay.
I'll see what you mean soon. And then yeah, Wrath is basically the normal RTA strat. You just do jump slash cancels to keep it stun locked. I had fun targeting the different remains to keep me facing the girl. And that's it. That's the TAS. So hopefully all of that detail was interesting for those of you who stuck around for it. I find that kind of stuff really interesting, and I've always wished that people, when they present TASs, would go into even more detail than they do, which is why... So like, Yumius, when you posted your glitchless TAS to TAS videos, you wrote a really long, in-depth explanation of everything in every room. And
it took me so long to write that.
Well, I'm glad you did. I really enjoyed reading it. I learned a lot from it. Lots of food for thought. And I was hoping that this could, help other people in the future to learn from my mistakes.
I'm glad to know there is at least one person who read it.
Yeah, I read every word. Well, anything to add, Eumius?
Not really. Pretty solid TAS.
Thank you. Yeah, I know there are a lot of mistakes in this. When we think of TASs, we think of, perfect speedruns. No TAS is really perfect. Some TASs are more perfect than others, but no TAS is ever really perfect. At least a longer TAS like this. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm happy with how this came out for a first TAS.
Yeah, even the glitchless TAS with like a decade of experience and almost 2 years of work, like I can point out mistakes in that.
Yeah, tassing just doesn't lend itself to true perfection because of the way it works. But yeah, that's it for that. So I'm going to put this on YouTube for anyone who missed parts of it and want to go back. The beginning of it was just watching through the TAS like normal. And then we spent 2 whole hours talking through each room, which I need to go apologize to H for. But yeah, thanks for coming, everybody. Thanks, Eumius, for commentating. I appreciate all the feedback. And I look forward to doing some more TASing in the future. I don't know what I'll do.
Yeah, this is fun.
But yeah. All right. See you, everybody.